Good evening and welcome to the Milford School Committee meeting Thursday, June 20th. I welcome you all here. It is with great pleasure I get to open up this meeting with our first agenda item. We have in attendance this evening the Milford High School Girls Softball 2013 state champions and their coaches. Ladies, on behalf of the committee, I say congratulations to you and your coaches. A repeat, to do it once is an amazing feat. To repeat again like you have is just, it's beyond words. Having been a former athlete many years ago, I know the hard work and dedication it takes, to put in to this kind of effort. It was a culmination of years of training, and, I thank the parents as well for the years they spent driving you back and forth to practices and to trainings. But you have made your district and your community extremely proud, and it is with great honor we have you here tonight. We do have, I'd like to open it up to in fact, before I move on, I'd also like to recognize Shannon Smith as the Massachusetts strikeout queen, record holder as I understand it. Congratulations to you. So I'd like to open up to the committee, and we do have some things that we'd like to present with you ladies this evening. So.
I'll go first. Again, congratulations. What you just accomplished, absolutely, it's amazing. But one of the greatest things is you guys all worked hard for a goal, and you had to work together, and you just created friendships that are going to last a lifetime. That's probably the best thing that's going to come out of this, is for the rest of your lives, you're always going to rely on one another because you knew that you worked for a common goal and you worked so hard and you accomplished it. And it's just a great feeling. And all of us just really proud of every one of you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Scott?
Again, to echo what my peers have already said, congratulations. It is, not to be redundant, but it is impressive. I mean, 2 years in a row is, and the way that you've done it with such dominance and such great teamwork and really just such sportsmanship. So congratulations. Enjoy this time. Certainly enjoy the recognition. It's well deserved, and enjoy each other as you guys continue forward in the friendships that you guys are creating. It's tremendous.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, so you can hear this a lot. Congratulations. A tremendous accomplishment, but I really want to thank you for being such great role models for the children in our community. The girls really look up to you, not only for your accomplishments on the field, but the way you handle yourselves off the field as well. So thank you for that. And to the parents and the coaches, thank you for your guidance and all the support you've given them over the years. I can only imagine how proud you are to be able to see and watch how far they've come and how hard they've worked for this. So congratulations.
I think the important thing you forget is how high you raised the bar for the group that comes next after you. Mr. Mackey's got his hands full to, 2 years in a row. It's very impressive. But being the dad of a son who played 3 sports at Milford High School, I want to say to the parents, I know the sacrifice. I know the hours, up and down the Mass Pike and all those other things you do. So to the parents, I want to say thank you very much. And again, Mr. Mackey, great job. Great job. And Mr. Pierre Gustavo, thank you as well for being there.
Great.
What can I add, except it's phenomenal.
Okay.
It's really impressive.
Yeah.
We watch the paper. We listen to MRC every morning, watch the paper. All the kids in my family are watching softball.
Yeah, you made Ed Thompson.
And it really doesn't
Yes,
matter
indeed.
the age. My 9-year-old son came home. Dad, did you hear the girls softball team won the state championship twice? That's great. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and again, just in addition to the great athletes that you all are, I know there's many of you that are also exceptional students. And I think that speaks a lot to, the program that we have here in Milford. So again, I thank you for that. So if I could get all you ladies to stand, we do have something we'd like to have you come up and get, if the committee wants to join us.
Oh, great, how are you?
I like my new secret door. And I'm coming across everybody.
Sure. Sure, why not?
Coach Mackey, if you want to just recognize the girls as they come up and record them, that'd be great.
I guess we'll start right down the line. We got junior Sam Bonvino. Come on up, Sam. Junior Giovanna Arcudi. We got junior Caleb Harris. Senior captain Lauren Hanna. Senior captain Lizzie Stallone. Sophomore Taylor LeBrun. Senior captain Shannon Smith. Senior captain Caroline Fairbanks. Our backer Molly Muskilly. Freshman Jenny Levine. Freshman Joe Powers. Sophomore Ali Pigurstavo. Freshman Megan Jakes. Junior Kylie Richards. Junior Sarah Jakes. And my assistant coaches are Krista Marcone, Jenna Mackey. And then we're missing 3 people tonight. My assistant coach, Andrea Smith, junior Leah Murray, and senior captain Rachel Levine is actually at orientation at Boston University tonight. So, it is a team. Is this on that I can talk real quick? I just, real quick, I'd like to thank the committee for having us here tonight. It's a real honor for us to be here and be recognized. Looking at these girls, the past couple years, being able to coach them has been an honor for me. It's a great group to work with. As they've been saying, they do the job in the classroom as well as on the field, and that makes it that much more enjoyable for me because I know they are role models for younger girls throughout this community and really any student in this community. And when they put the work in, they put the time in, they put the effort in, when you're able to hold that state championship trophy on that last day, it means that much more because you know you got a great group here, and it's been really special, and I'm honored to be able to say that I'm their coach. So thank you again for tonight, and we really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it again. Thanks, appreciate it. Appreciate it, thank you. Thank you, definitely. Good try. All right, perfect, thank you. Hey, thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks for having us. Thanks a lot, appreciate it. Thanks.
Oh, did I not say it? Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Don.
See ya. Thank you. Have a good night.
Hold a Rob about that. It's not bad.
Please do, Brian.
They're Milford Public Schools, like coffee mugs.
Very nice.
Kind of class it up a little bit.
Very nice. Well, what a great way to start the meeting. In fact, I did get a little bit ahead of myself, and I want to make sure that I do say there are members of the local media here this evening. And if there is anybody in attendance that would like to video or audio record the meeting, please let myself or one of the other committee members know. Hopefully, we're not too late getting that announcement.
I'm sure we're fine.
Next on our agenda, we do have approval of minutes. We have two sets of minutes. The first set of minutes is from May 9th, regular school committee meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those? Yeah, do I have a motion to accept minutes motion from Mike, second from Christine, all in favor? Unanimous in favor. We also have a set of minutes from the June 6th regular school committee meeting. Do I have a motion to accept? From Don, second from Joe, all in favor? Unanimous in favor. Meetings pass. Next up, we have announcements, correspondence, and distributions. Do any members of the committee have anything?
Just one quick question. I know that it was brought up at the selectmen's meeting on Monday, and I know that we'd had a similar concern from last year with regards to a couple of audit issues that had come back. One regarding pension calculations, I believe, was one of them. There were two findings. It was a similar thing that that had happened last year. In fact, we had talked about it during this meeting last year. It was brought to the attention by the selectmen on Monday night's meeting. Was wondering if you could just kind of speak to that for the purposes of the general public.
Yeah, it came to my attention as well. Kathy, if you could comment on that finding.
One of the findings that happened for the second year in a row was the special ed 94-142 grant. And part of that grant, when the grant is written, the grant liaison that writes the grant is responsible to have each one of a school employee who's paid through the grant sign off that they're receiving paychecks as part of receiving federal funds. And that has to be done twice a year, and that goes directly to the grant liaison, and it was done once and not twice for the second year in a row. And the grant writer is very well aware that this needs to be done, the special ed director, and she was in year one of her contract, so to be expected to understand those certification sheets. She promised that next year they will absolutely be done, and it is twice a year, and she did them once and then missed the June certification sheets, and the auditor did make it a finding. And I'm not sure, Scott, about the pension.
It was a second item, and I apologize for not having it was something it was a second item that was brought up, and again, because this was the second year in a row. I guess my question is, and certainly understandable, with somebody being in their first year of the contract, they may not understand what that is. One of my questions would just be, given that this is now a repeat finding, and again, coming from somebody who works in an industry where audits are common, repeat findings are never a good thing. So, though that individual and the special ed director does a phenomenal job, she can't be expected to necessarily know everything. What fail-safes are we able to now put in place so that doesn't happen going forward? It's something that, and I'm not expecting an answer right now, but I would ask that we look at what our redundancies look like, so that way this doesn't continue to happen. It sends the wrong message, especially on something of this nature.
Yeah, we don't have a copy of that report. It was a town report that was issued back, so it wasn't forwarded to the school department. So we're operating on this information that's been coming to us from members of the committee and kind of through hearsay, but it's not been forwarded to us. So we'll work with the town's offices and get a copy of that and address that and find out what the pension question is too.
Okay, thank you.
It may be helpful if you do reach out to them, if perhaps we could get the committee members could get a copy of that report too. I thought we had last year, but it certainly would be helpful. I heard as well, but it would be nice to see the report.
Certainly look into that, yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other members?
On a separate note, had an opportunity to attend at Woodland School today. Actually, one of the classes was doing an Author's Day, which was kind of neat. The students of Woodland of the third grade, they get an opportunity to sort of through a project that they do through class, then present it to parents and members of the faculty that come in, and then they print off extra copies, and they get to basically effectively work like authors, tell part of their story, show their project, and then sign copies. So had an opportunity to attend that today. Wanted to make sure I recognized what a great job. The principal, both Craig and Lisa Kincaid did a great job from an administrative perspective. The teachers, really did a nice job of helping put it together. Made a real professional program. Actually, it was very impressive. And of course, the students were fantastic. They did a nice job. Great project. Very impressive. Some of them, and the thought and creativity that went into some of these stories. They're very talented writers, some of them. So.
It's great to see that kind of activity on June 20th when
Yeah,
typically
really.
school's out. And,
Yeah, I was remembering back to my years. I'm
check
like,
out.
all my books were gone by this time when I was in school. So it was impressive. I mean, this level of detail going into it was great.
It's
Yeah,
terrific.
that's fantastic. Anything else, Scott?
That's all I got.
Anyone else?
Just a couple of distributions this
Bob?
evening, Mr. Chairman. At your seats, there's a couple of distributions, one of which is a hospitality management program. I'll speak to that as part of my proposed goals presentation. And the other item that's here is a follow-up to the last meeting, school committee meeting. This is a draft document, the impact analysis, the proposed casino in Milford. And obviously, you'll need some time to read this and reference it, but I'll be looking for the committee's feedback. Again, it is in draft form. Intended to be giving this to Vonnie Reese, the town engineer, who's collating, I guess, or bringing all this information together from each of the department heads for an impact work that the town is doing. So this is the first time this has been issued now publicly as a draft, though. It's still just a draft document, but I would look for your feedback on this at some point, if you could, as soon as possible on that, but perhaps at a future meeting, we put it on the agenda? Is that how?
Yeah, it looks like there is quite a bit here. Thank you for, for starting to put this together. I think we'd all would like some time, to sort of dig through it, and, if need be, we'll put it on possibly the July or August meeting, and we can discuss it further or vet it further. Everyone's okay with that?
Absolutely.
All right, yeah, thank you for doing that.
Okay, you're welcome. That's all I have for distributions.
Okay. Next up, we have invitation to speak. Do we have anyone here tonight? Hi, come on up to the table, introduce yourself. Hi, welcome. Sure.
I have to prepare my notes. I apologize. I have a 10-month at home. I haven't slept through the night in 10 months, so sometimes thoughts are not as coherent as one would like. So in the interest of time, my name is Megan Hornberger, and I am the proud parent of a kindergartner at Memorial School. I have been thrilled with both his education and his experiences at Memorial this year, so I commend the faculty and administrators over there. I have a work schedule that fortunately allows me to work in such a manner that I can volunteer there on a weekly basis, and so every time I'm in the school, I just could not be more proud of what's going on there. I would like to thank the committee also for all the time and effort that you guys expend to make the Milford Public Schools so strong. It's a very great community. I'm here tonight to reiterate my belief in the importance of being able to transition 8 kindergarten classrooms at Memorial into 8 first grade classrooms there. Mr. Tremblay has been very responsive to my inquiries over the past couple weeks on this topic, and I am very grateful for that time. In his email to the committee and me, dated June 12th, he stated, "The Milford Public School Committee and the Milford Public Schools Administration all support the lowest possible class size, particularly at the early childhood and early education level. As a parent, I am very thankful for that." Mr. Tremblay also indicated in his message that target class size is between 20 and 22 students, with every effort made to keep the class size below 24 in the pre-K through 2 classroom. Currently, there are 165 students enrolled at grade 1 for Memorial in the fall. This translates into 4 classes with 24 students and 3 classes with 23 students. We're approaching the 24 student threshold, and school has not even let out for the year. This also means the kindergarten students that currently have a ratio of about 10 students to 1 instructor will be transitioning to classrooms with 23 or 24 students to 1 instructor, as there's no full-time aide in first grade. My concern is that this ratio is just too high for first grade, and now is the ideal time to rectify this situation. Furthermore, these numbers leave little to no room for additional enrollment over the coming weeks or coming months. It's my opinion it would be prudent and more efficient to decide to allocate funds now for another first grade instructor, a decision which would enhance the first grade experience for all of these children. We all want to see young learners develop close relationships with their teachers and get the individual attention that they need to master the fundamental language and math skills that are necessary for success in school and in life. Research has proven students in smaller class sizes in grades K through 3 do better in virtually every measure. A study published by the American Journal of Public Health indicated reducing class sizes is one of the most cost-effective public health measures that society can take. To quote Forrest Whitcraft, 100 years from now, it will not matter what kind of car I drove, what kind of house I lived in, or how much money was in my bank account. But the world may be a better place because I made a difference in the life of a child. I'm here tonight to ask you to please choose to make a difference in the life of these young children, and please choose to add an instructor at the first grade level at Memorial School. Thank you.
Open it up to the committee.
Yeah, I've been, I think 3 years ago, we had a problem in kindergarten where I think we ended up with enrollment of 26, 27 students after the first week of school in the kindergarten level. And we had to scramble to try and find a way to make it more manageable. I think one of the biggest problems, and it's something that we all recognize, especially in K through 2, if we don't have the right ratio of students to teachers, then we're potentially setting back students by half a year as they go on to that next level. So we have to be very careful of that. I'm very comfortable with classrooms with 22 students, and I'm cautiously comfortable with classrooms with 23. What's been a little bit alarming to me, and I say alarming because it's well, I'll use the numbers. So I had asked Kathy back in April what our projected enrollment was going to be in the first grade, and it was 22 students per classroom. And then a month later, it had jumped up to 23 students per classroom. And now, in the report that we got from Bob, now it's 23.57 students per classroom. And so at 24 students per classroom, I'm alarmed. And right now, we're walking into that with no wiggle room. And so as someone who is the son of a kindergarten teacher, and who's grown up his entire life understanding the value of having that early education experience being very strong, I'm very concerned now. If you told me 22, I'm not concerned. We can handle that. That's okay. At 23.57, I'm starting to get worried. So, and I don't know how we've dug into that yet, but I guess I'd be interested in seeing a report on how perhaps we could look at that.
Christine?
How many second grade classrooms are there?
They're currently, let me just grab my.
There's 7 at Memorial.
There's only 7 at Memorial. And I hate that 0.5 number. There's no such thing as a 0.5 kid. So, that I know it's an average, but the 0.5 drives me crazy. And I think that 3 away from 24 bothers me like crazy, because that we know the demographics of this town. We know what happens in the summer. It's just, it seems to me to wait for 3 kids to get there so we hit that 24. It's too close for comfort, Bob. It really is. And having been through a multiple of these rounds, I mean, for as many years I sat here, every year we encounter this. 24 is a lot.
No, I don't disagree
So
with you.
the half, we have 4, how many? 4 classrooms of 24, 3 classrooms of 23. So those 3 classes, they're 3 kids away.
Right.
If we have a child or 2 that comes in and is enrolled, that's a new student. If we have someone that goes into second grade and isn't ready, that's a new student. It's just too close. It's too close. Now, would you have to hire someone new? Is there movement through other schools? Now, I know Brookside's awful full too. That's another big issue here, because we had 8 first grade teachers last year.
Yeah, we chose as a committee not to add a teacher to that school building during the budget cycle.
That's right.
Because of the projected enrollment.
But Brookside is full.
Yes.
What are the Brookside's numbers?
Brookside's numbers, this is again, all looking at it next year.
Yeah.
We promoted everybody, so in grade 2, 1 to 22.
Okay.
In grade 1, 1 to 21. And in kindergarten, 1 to 19. And to Mrs. Hornberger's point, with an additional full-time teaching assistant in the class. So there's 2 instructors and then 1 certified teacher, so 1 to 19. Memorial School in grade 2 is 1 to 22. Kindergarten is 1 to 20. And grade 1 is at 1 to 23, albeit some with 24. And I've been watching this, as you know, from the briefings, and
right.
as the parents know, daily. Lisa Byer, who runs the Family Resource Center, has been out the last couple of days. She's in vacation time in there. She's back on Monday. What concerns me, as I mentioned in an earlier memo, is the number, we have a very, it seems to be a very transient first grade population, which is actually quite a surprise to me. Almost like you'd see at Hanscom Air Force Base of people coming in and out, but with a net overall gain in the period of a year. What I don't know is how many withdrawals there are waiting in the inbox and how many additional students are coming in. And what changed that number from the time of the budget was obviously move-ins, but also retentions that happen in grades. So
Right.
retention meetings will happen, and in this case, at Memorial School, I believe there was 3 student retentions, which impacted that number there. So every single head now counts,
Yeah,
getting closer to
right.
that,
That's
to that
what I'm nervous
24 mark. So what I've left it with the parents, and I believe I briefed the committee on this as well. We built this budget, as you know, from the ground up. It's not a padded budget. We don't have the room in there to now just add a teacher. However, there's still, and we've experienced this, there's always that chance of changes, people last-minute retirements, people leave through the summer, a student perhaps, or a couple of students who have a one-to-one teaching assistant who might leave the district. Those monies perhaps could free up. Or if we have a teacher who moves, let's say we have, for example, at the high school, we're going to have 2 administrative vacancies at the assistant principal level. If we promote from within, and we have the ability then to bring in a teacher, perhaps at a lower step, to replace those vacancies, that may well be money bank savings that we can use to offset the cost of an added teacher. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. So, but we don't know that quite yet. So what I've advised the principal, Mrs. Burns, to do is right now, and I was actually at a retirement party before coming here and talking to some of the teachers there, obviously, who shared their concerns, was advise them to go forward with a to be determined on the class and not actually assign the teachers to the children. Once you do that, it becomes very difficult now to take, now you're taking children out of classrooms and putting them in other classrooms, and which ones do you move? And so right now, a TBD is the best approach, in my experience dealing with that. But again, we can, if the committee wants to move in a certain direction and press us to look at this, we can certainly sharpen our pencils tomorrow and see what we can do. We don't have any additional surplus funds to make that position happen.
I want you to sharpen your pencils and see what you can do. I'm really not comfortable with it. I don't like waiting for someone to retire. And I hate sending parents home with a TBA. Like,
know, yeah.
oh my goodness, I've had first grade. It's horrible. That's the best thing in the world. I mean, I know it's a moment in time, but it's a moment in a 6-year-old's life. But I don't like waiting. I don't like the premise that we're waiting for money to free up. I just think we can go with higher class numbers at the upper grades than we can at first grade. We have to make the impact now. Do I think we need to go down to 20 and below? No. But I think we need to see if we can find a way, and have a plan and having a date by which, if this happens, we need to do this. Like we can't have, our contingency can't be, let's wait and see if something moves here or something moves there, because that's, in a different place than that first grade situation at Memorial. So I'm really not comfortable with that contingency. I'd like to have a real plan, not a wait and see, and I'd like to have, if by July 1st, this is what will happen, or July 15th, then parents know the plan, we know the plan, and we're good on it. But we don't have all the information. You have to find that money or say, this is what it will cost us elsewhere, and we'll figure it out. We always have.
Scott, then Pat?
I would say I am absolutely 100% not comfortable with sending home a TVA or a wait-and-see approach. I understand the budgetary impacts of that. We've all been through that process. I think part of my, call it frustration on that, would be, I know that we'd had these conversations. We know that the budget was tight. We know we did build it from the bottom up. I remember having these very specific conversations as we were going through our budget, and we spent that Saturday together at our open meeting, and talking about some of these concerns. If we can if there's any way to sharpen that pencil as much as possible, and whether we're able to find the funds, if it's something that we need to, look at other grades, and if we already know of other retirements in other grades that we can push some, that we can reallocate some of those funds. It's just too important. It's too important. We're talking about a core subject. We're talking about an extremely impressionable age. I did have an opportunity, as I was in one of the elementary schools earlier today, I had an opportunity to talk with some of the teachers, and they, of course, even at Woodland, were voicing their concerns, even though it's not a direct impact on them. And I asked them really, what is the impact from an educational perspective? And they said, they really shared a number of things, not the least of which is, candidly, that's where we do run the risk of having some kids fall through the cracks. And at 24 is when they do that. And we're there. I mean, we're 3 kids away from it. That's a gigantic problem. Anything we can do within our power to be able to do that, I would certainly be completely in favor of. And I know that you guys spend, I'm pretty sure you guys both take home and have the budget turned into sheets for you guys because you sleep with it. Because I can only imagine, I know how much time you spend on it. Dig deep, please.
Patrick?
Yes, make a recommendation. Would the committee entertain the idea of giving us a date to watch the enrollment, look at the retirements, and the possible promotion from within, let's say July 10th, and make a vote now that if those funds do not come to the bottom line, that we move to hire the teacher out of school choice funds. And that would give us a backup plan, and it would resolve the enrollment issue.
I think what I'd like to see are several creative solutions, of which that could be one.
Okay.
And I think the timeline, to Christine's point, is absolutely necessary. So we need to know when that's out by. But I think that there are ways that we can sharpen our pencils and try and find some solutions. And I'd like to see several solutions in front of us. I think that we have an opportunity to be creative and investigate the different ways in which we can face this challenge. We're fortunate that we've had parents who've come in and have brought this to our attention now, as opposed to 2 days before school starts, which is what happened back in 2010. So we have some time, not a lot of time. And we have very smart people working in these buildings. And so I know that we can at least have a menu of options, from which the committee could choose.
Don?
Yeah, first of all, Megan, thank you for
outlining that the way you did. It was very appreciated. I think you did a great job. I think you should be a teacher. But, I think we're all in agreement that we need to get this number under 23. So, as a committee, I'm pretty sure we'll find a way to get this done. Over the last several months, every meeting we have, we hear about projections, and it seems to be a hockey stick that we're trying to manage to. It's very hard for us to understand where that hockey stick is going all the time, and so a lot of times it is a jigsaw. I am kind of shocked that, here we are, just weeks from having the town meeting members approve our budget that we asked for. I'm also having a hard time with 2 weeks ago, the principals coming in here and laying out what they needed, and this was not one of those things. So I want to thank you for coming to us and bringing this to our attention and bringing this to the surface. Because in my opinion, it should have happened before this. So I applaud you guys for doing that. As a taxpayer in this town, I don't want to hear, there's funds available to bring on another teacher. I know I and my other committee members went through that budget, and we spent a Saturday up here. We spent numerous meetings going over every line and every need. We had every principal tell us what they needed, and it's a real difficult thing to do. The problem that I think would happen is if we can't find funds and we have to go back to the town just weeks after finishing our budget approval to now come back and ask for an additional teacher would be extremely difficult, especially where, knowing how we've had to deal with them in the past and how strict they are, unless you've hit that magic number of 24, it's really, really difficult. But in my opinion, you're absolutely right. Is it now? Is it a month from now? Or is it 6 months from now? It's going to happen. So we need to address it. I guess what I'm trying to say is I wish the process that we have in place would have addressed this earlier and made it to the point where we could have asked the finance committee a couple months ago for an additional head because of these numbers that we're being presented with. It would have made life a lot easier. So, you know, I guess that's our job, right? So, thank you very much for bringing it to our attention. I'm all for finding a way, Bob, but I just want to make sure it's clear. In my opinion, this should have been done well in advance of making parents come into this committee and asking for it.
Don, just to comment on that, I understand your frustration, but as you know from going through the numbers when we did at the budget time, it's such a fluctuation of numbers. And I tell you that 50 students in, 32 out, you can't predict that. In kindergarten, up until recently, it was the kindergarten that had been the most difficult to predict because you didn't know who's still out there to register. Grade 1 is unusual in this regard. I shared that with the families that I met with as well. It's very unusual to have that kind of number growth in the time that we did over the last few months. And believe me, if we could have projected that out when we did, we would have done that. We always try to keep our eye on the enrollment, and we'll continue to do that. And we still have time to solve that problem. We certainly won't go back to the town to ask for that. We'll find a way to make that work.
To me, the alarming thing has been every meeting we have, it's about these projections that are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
They're moving in.
You know, and it's really difficult. And trust me, I'm not bashing anybody for the budget piece. We go through that with a lot of diligence, and a lot of hard work goes into it. So it's unfortunate that you know, these things happen, but you know, again, you have our commitment that we will address this. We'll make sure that we have that number under 23, and we'll figure out a way how to do it, whether it's asking for more money or finding some alternative solutions.
Thanks, Don. Mike?
Apologies, I didn't get your last. You made reference that there was no aid in the first grade?
There's no full-time.
Yeah, we don't have it.
Really?
No,
No.
we never had.
Kindergarten.
My concern is, and I agree with what everybody has to say, my concern is, Bob, is, you know, every year in August, when we come back in August, we're shuffling, and you mentioned the kindergarten class, if we use it as an example.
In kindergarten.
It's so difficult. You know, here we are, we have a group of parents that now have come and made a presentation to us. We know right now, because of the numbers you sent us this afternoon, what they are. I think we need to work on it right away. I really do. And if Patrick, you know, there's several solutions or what, but I think tomorrow morning,
Yeah, Kathy and I can work.
it's gotta be a
tomorrow.
priority, and I know you, both of you will work it out, you do great things, and it's our responsibility to decide where the funds are gonna come from, but, you know, we need to fix it, you know?
So if the committee wants us to move in that direction, and I don't disagree with that, by the way.
Yes.
I'm trying to be responsible with the budget at the same time, but we will certainly look at that
This member would
tomorrow.
like you to do that.
The only piece that I just, not to push back, Scott, on the difficulty with assigning teachers, though, and that's why I'd almost rather resolve this in the next 2 days than in July, for a number of reasons. For me, and having done that as a principal, giving out report cards with names and then coming back to random redact that when kids are planning to see
Right.
Mrs. France or
Right.
Mrs.
Right.
Picard, whatever it may be, can be very upsetting to now say, well, sorry, because we have to now pull 3 out of every class to build yet another class. So that's the methodology, that's the reasoning for the TBD, not because I prefer it, just it's less damaging to kids, I would say, when they get excited about their teacher for next year. So let us work on this tomorrow and see if we can't come up with now that I know they have the committees behind that, come up with a solution so we can get names on report cards. We don't have TBD, and see if we can solve this problem in the.
Can I
Christine?
just say, though, I think that the July 10th date, I think there's no harm in setting that as a date. I think there's no harm in, as a committee, getting together and having a discussion about this. So I don't know, I know it's the last week of school, but I think that, and I don't know where, if you can, it's not Terry anymore.
Melissa.
Yeah. If she can send out an email, and I don't know if the committee would agree to that, if we could just sit and talk about it. You know, next week, the week after, have a date, we have solutions, and we go by it. I mean, it would be great in 2 days. I understand that. But I also am not a person that says, okay, let's do this now. I need to see what solutions you come up with, and let's talk about it as a committee. And, you know, we did really well when we had that budget meeting. If we can have another short one, I think that would be really helpful to all of us, but we need a plan. I guess what I'm asking is, as the committee, if we can I'll make a motion to have a meeting in the next week to discuss the plan.
Second that.
And then for Kathy and Bob, if you can come up with some solutions,
Mhm.
and then we can go through those solutions and
Sure.
go from there.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I don't think it solves the TBA problem, which I don't like, but I also don't want to do that overnight in 2 days either,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I don't like the to be announced either, but I would much prefer students
f-
not know than.
I want to
be
feel
torn
good
from the
about what we're
classroom.
doing.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah,
It wants to
I
be
would
the final
agree.
decision, whatever it is.
And-
And again, I don't want it to be in 2 days either, because if it's rushed, it's not gonna go well.
Then
wanna
So
give
that
you
we can
guys
plan.
Time to be creative and do the wonderful things that you guys always find a creative way to be able to do it. I don't know how you do it every time, but you do.
Okay.
And I do, like I said, I'm happy to second the idea of getting together as a committee to be able to hopefully address the situation.
Right.
'Cause
In a
if-
very quick manner.
If we only have 7 classrooms in second grade, I'm concerned that, let's have a plan that we can anticipate these kids now going to second grade, so
Yeah.
that every year we're not kind of moving things around like this. So we feel good about whatever plan we put in place, that it's well thought out.
You know,
Um,
we can force teachers to move grades if we have to. I mean,
Yeah, there's
we
lots
can-
of things we can do, and we just need more than 2 days to make this
Yeah,
decision.
absolutely.
Joe?
So as Megan pointed out, the research clearly shows that
Oh,
there's
sure.
a benefit to having the smaller classes in place. And as she mentioned, these are very formative years. And the research also shows that the kids that were in smaller classes when they were younger tend to be much more engaged. They tend to stay in school. They tend to have better grades all throughout. So the investment that we make here at these younger grades are going to pay off down the road, and we're going to save some money down the road. And I think we're sort of playing with fire a little bit when we look at the 22, 23 numbers. I think we're going to run into this a lot. And I think as a committee, we need to make a concerted effort to get down to 20 or 21. And I know there's an expense associated with that, but I think this is where our focus should be, and this is where we should be making an investment, so we don't run into these issues every year. And the other thing I wanted to highlight, I know we're focusing on Memorial School today, but the other thing that really concerned me was Woodland School
Oh,
and
yeah.
some of those numbers.
No question.
So when you look at the incoming third grade class, that's already going to be 24 to 1. The fourth grade class is 22 to 1, but the following year, you're going to have 25 in some classes at fourth grade, 24 at third grade, and there's nothing we can do about it because there's no room in that school. We can't add another teacher, we can't add another class. So
Right.
that really supports the need for a new school. And obviously you guys have been advocating for that for some time now, but I just wanted to highlight that as well.
Yeah.
It also shows that
Yeah.
when the room is there, the need for adding teachers to lower the classroom size exists as well. So it's a never-ending story.
But in the short term, though, we do have space in Memorial School right
Yeah.
now, to add a classroom.
Right.
Correct.
And I know that Mrs. Burns has does a great job of being, continuing to be creative as well, and certainly has the hearts and minds of the teachers. So I think and the teachers are committed to getting this to getting the right class size. So I have all confidence that if we did need to move some teachers around, that would be, we wouldn't even necessarily need to ask. I think it'd just be something that
Yeah,
there
we've
would
done
be.
that before.
We'd be a long list of volunteers that the teachers, as
Mhm.
well as the principals of both buildings,
Mhm.
both Mrs. Burns and Ms. Firth would be.
I think on the flip side of it, what we have to stay focused on is it's really a good problem to have.
Yeah.
It means that people are staying in district and people are moving into our district because our district is so well-run. So as difficult as it is to sit here and say, we gotta figure this out, which we will, it's a good problem to have, because it means the district is doing, everybody in it is doing a great job and should be commended for it.
Yeah, so, yeah, we're certainly all in agreement as a committee, and understand the importance of it. And again, we thank you for coming in,
Yes.
Nice job.
to
Thank you.
highlight that and bring it to our attention. And, like many of the members have suggested, if you can work as best you can over the next few days and get some options to us to review, we can work on establishing a date to try and meet and discuss that. So we can maybe figure out a solution sooner than later, okay?
Will do.
All right, good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the report of the superintendent of schools.
Kevin, if you would be so kind to come up, it's my pleasure this evening to introduce formally, Dr. Kevin McIntyre, who I'll introduce himself in a moment. So background, as the committee knows from my briefings, very excited to have Kevin on the team. We had over 50 applications for the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. And from that group, I called together some curriculum team leaders from the district, people whom I very much respect in the district and their opinions on, and they screened the applicants down to a finalist or semifinalist list of six superintendents or assistant superintendents. We then called these candidates in, the 6 candidates in, the we being myself, Kathy Perry, Meg Belcito, and Jen Lancaster, what I call our central office team. Principals weren't directly part of that process for a couple of reasons, but mainly just because I wanted to have the central office team who'll be working with this gentleman daily, but also it's never good to have your sort of your subordinates pick your boss, as it were. Sometimes they can kind of muddy the waters. But Kevin is certainly, when we had the candidates come in, as Kathy can attest, Kevin was our 6th of the 6 candidates, and just above all, just hands down was the best candidate for us. We had an opportunity to visit him in his role in Tewksbury, and just everyone there is impressed with him. I did ask the question because, sometimes when people are there excited to say, hey, he's a great guy, we'd hate to see him go. The reality of that on the employer's level is sometimes that can happen when certain employees want to be helped out of a district. So I asked the question of the, and I hope you don't mind that I'm saying this publicly, Kevin. It's an important, because it's very important to me.
I'm not
because
quite sure what he's going to say.
I never want to. Hiring is so important, and to do it correctly, as all these gentlemen know and ladies know from in their industries of hiring, it's just so much time and money spent in doing that. You want to do it right the first time. So when I asked the superintendent in a private meeting afterwards, and I said, look, I don't want to be told the story. I said, I want to know the truth. Is this a candidate we can have here? And I said, how do I know you're telling me everything, that you just not to help him out of the district, but really that this is the best fit for Milford? And his comment was, well, in 2 weeks from now, because you're 2 weeks ahead of me, I'll be posting a similar job here. And if you don't hire him, I will. And that was the vote of confidence that I needed to hear from him. But everything up until that proved out to be just a tremendous, that you're a tremendous fit for Milford, your personality, the way you listen, the way you work with people, and how you've proven that already. And all of that said is a grand introduction. We're welcome to have you here. Glad to have you aboard. Maybe just introduce yourself to the committee and to the public.
Sure.
As to who you are, your background, and why you're excited to be in Milford.
Great. So I'm very excited to be here. My name is Kevin McIntyre. When Bob said I was the 6th candidate, it doesn't mean the other 5 dropped out. I hope.
No, they didn't.
Good. That's good to hear. For the past 6 years, I've been working with the Tewksbury Public Schools. For the past 4 as a principal of the John F. Ryan Elementary School. Prior to my work in Tewksbury, I worked at Notre Dame High School, which was a fantastic opportunity from my perspective because I was able to open and build a new program in a new school. I've also worked with an organization called the New Teacher Project. I was a Teach for America alumni back in the early years, and for about 6 years, I helped the Massachusetts Department of Education recruit, select, train, and support new teachers in the highest need districts in the state, develop training programs for them, place them in schools, worked with them through their summer programs. Again, I had the opportunity today to visit all the schools. We went on kind of a whirlwind tour. If you gave me $1 million to name all the people I met, I could probably bat about 400. But it seems like the folks here at Milford are very dedicated. I think just based on the conversation that just occurred about class sizes, it's clear that the committee has their priorities in line. It's clear that the parents have their priorities in line as well. So I'm very excited to be part of this kind of community. I look forward to working with all of you over the next several years. And again, I can't emphasize enough how excited and enthusiastic I am to start this new position July 1st.
Right, Christine?
Everyone knows I'm chomping at the bit. I, if nothing, have been a huge advocate of having someone in charge of curriculum. It's what we do. It's why we're here. There is nothing that is more important than delivering the proper curriculum. So I'm really excited that we have someone that's your job. And I can't wait to see what happens in this district when we have a dedicated focus to that. I mean, we've always been focused on education, but just have someone that can develop it from K all the way up is huge. And I'm really, really excited to have you on board, and I can't wait to work with you.
Great, thank you.
Scott?
certainly echo that. It was great to get a chance to shake your hand and say and welcome you to the district. So first off, welcome to Milford.
Thank you.
As many will tell you, the center of the universe. So you won't find any arguments on this side of the table. So it is a tremendous thing that you're positioned, and you've got quite a task ahead of you. And it's not that our curriculum is broken, because it's not. We've made some huge strides over the past year, thanks to the leadership of many. But the fact that your whole job now is to just continue to move education in such a positive direction, I wish you absolutely the best of luck. I know you'll certainly take it to task immediately, and I hope that you will continue as you go through this process to incorporate the needs and certainly the voices of all the teachers that have really put in a ton of work, and really see this every day, as you know, having been a principal.
Absolutely.
So that would be my first piece. The second piece is I've had the opportunity to talk with teachers as well as community members, parents and administrators, and I would make some space on your shelf. You're probably going to get a lot of welcome flowers because they're very excited to have you here. So
Well, that's good to hear. I'm looking forward to roll up my sleeves and kind of dig right in.
Excellent.
Patrick?
Kevin, welcome to the team. We're glad that you're here. This role, leadership and curriculum, is something this community struggled with for the past six or 8 years, I think. We put 2 systems in place that we ultimately had to scrap because we didn't feel like we were getting the progress that we needed. And I think that the great strides that Scott spoke to a moment ago were in large part due to the work that Mr. Tremblay did with our curriculum team leaders. And he seems to have groomed them into a team that's prepared to work productively and give you positive feedback. So I'm very excited to have you here. I can even say, I know that I've said that we've scrapped the curriculum leadership twice in the past 6 years.
Hopefully that's not a pattern.
Well, I think
sweating.
now that we're in a place, because we have the leader of the district, because he's fulfilled that role for the past year, and he's sort of put us on a path that we're comfortable going down. I'm thrilled to have you here now that you can take those reins away and really create that leadership that we need. And to say that we've been struggling with curriculum for 6 years, it's not true. It's been 35 years we've been struggling with curriculum. And so I'm very pleased to have you on board. You seem very personable. We had a moment to speak before the meeting began. So welcome. I'm excited to have you here, and I'm glad that you want to roll up your sleeves, because I think that's going to be necessary.
Yeah, and I appreciate that too. Thank you.
Michael?
Again, I want to say welcome. I'm so glad that you were here tonight to be introduced when the parents were here from Memorial School, because you got firsthand witness of the passion that the parents in this town have for education. They're willing to, as we say, roll up their sleeves and sit at that table and make their feelings known. And I'm so glad that you were sitting in the back, and I was watching your facial expressions. They have a real passion. So the other important thing, and Bob and I spoke about this yesterday, is that, and Bob has done a great job, and Patrick's 100% right. We shook everything all up and we tossed it at Bob and said, fix it. And he's done a great job. But more importantly now, with having you on board, gives him the opportunity to go back and be the superintendent of schools of the Milford Public Schools, instead of being a fireman running around all day long changing his hat, which is, we talked about it. That's what he's been doing, and he's done a great job. But to have you here, I said to you when I got introduced to you, you got a great boss. He says great things about you. So, let's move the district, another notch up.
Yeah, and like I said, I've been impressed with everybody so far. So,
and it's a great
place. A lot of great things going on here.
It really is. It's a great place.
That's fantastic.
Donnie?
So, welcome. To kind of follow up on Scott and Pat's comments about the strides we've made, the one thing that we heard from that group throughout the year was the best part was the collaboration, and bringing them together and knowing what each school was doing. So the one thing I would ask is to maintain that collaboration. Don't let that fall apart and have everything dumped on you as you're now it's your job. The strides we made were really impressive, and we want to make sure we maintain that. So to maintain that collaboration would probably be in the best interest. Not that I'm the expert here or anything, but
no, you need to take that Tom Sawyer approach where everybody's painting the fence.
And then the other thing I would ask, obviously, I know you'll keep us
informed of all your successes, but I really want to ask you to really bring your failures to us too. Like Mike's saying, we're all passionate about the district, and we want this position to really take us to that next level and really be better than any district around here and really, be a leader in that. So please don't hesitate to bring your failures, because we can only support you if we know what you need. And if you need something, like you saw what we did for the teachers today, we will address whatever you bring to us, because it's that important to us. So, welcome and good luck.
Thank you, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Great. Well, welcome, and again, I got to meet you a little bit earlier too, Dr. McIntyre, and I'm very excited in, being the chair and sort of, going last. I echo what you have heard from my other committee members here, and, the one thing that you said that really struck a chord with me was you look forward to the years ahead. And, being, again, as passionate as everybody else here in Milford, I don't consider this a stepping stone type of town or position within our school. And it is going to take years to really delve into the details and give us what we need back. So I'm thrilled to hear you say that, and I look forward to you coming back and reporting back to us on the progress and the challenges that you're running into. So thanks for coming tonight.
All right, well, thank you very much. And like I said, I'm really excited to start July 1st.
Great.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
All right,
Have
thank
a
you.
great night.
Thank you for having me tonight.
Mhm.
Kevin, are you able to stick around? just for the-
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, great.
Absolutely.
Did you want to talk about the evaluation tool for the next week? I'm just trying to check you.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, Bob's going to go over the end of cycle report, the superintendent of schools end of cycle report. And for the committee, I had copies of evaluations provided for each of you. So what I'm hoping is, as he's going through that, it might be helpful for you to follow along and maybe make notes or start to even begin your evaluation this evening. Because what I'd like to do is, if everyone agrees it's enough time, is I'd like to ask that we give ourselves about 10 days to try and have these back by July 1st. If we don't think that's enough time, I'm certainly open to suggestions. That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to then form a subcommittee that will help sort of bring the collaborative evaluations together for presentation. But as is typical, I plan to meet as a committee so that we can review it before we go over it with Bob.
I'm more in shock that July 1st is only 10 days away.
Yeah. Well, again, if we need more time, I'm okay with that.
I think, honestly, I end up spending 2 days on it, usually a week before the deadline anyway, so set the deadline and we'll get it done.
Well, that's what I thought, and if we can get it done and get it, delivered back to Bob even in the July meeting, it would be good. If we can't, we need to move it out, we will do that, but I'd like to try to set that as a goal, so, have, Joe?
Just as a newly elected member, should I be evaluating him
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah, if you get to areas you think that, you don't have enough background or knowledge on, you certainly can indicate that and pass on that. But absolutely, for what you feel comfortable with, I would encourage you to fill out what you feel you can, so, yep.
Are we emailing you?
You can either, you can get me back the paper copy. I don't know that do we have the evaluation tool online to email to the
We
committee?
can send this electronically to everybody.
Yeah, I thought we
Yeah.
did too. So if we could get an
Sure.
email copy, that way, if it's easier for you to email it to me before the 1st, do that. If you're gonna make your notes and you wanna get it back to me like that, either mail it or in hand, please do that.
You said that you wanted to form a subcommittee. I did the evaluation last year, I organized it all. I'd be happy to serve on that if you want me to.
I'm glad you suggested that. Having, Angie got a nomination. Yeah, you did a great job with it actually last year, Patrick. It was the first year we used the tool. I would appreciate that. Maybe even if we want to have Joe is a newer member, if you want to maybe sit in on that with us as well.
That might not be a bad idea.
Get a feel for the tool. see what kind of input's given back. Might be a good opportunity if you're up for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then we have a motion for.
Yeah, I don't think we need a motion for
Okay,
subcommittee,
okay.
so.
All right, very good. Then that's what we'll do. That'll be our subcommittee to, again, just pull together the collaborative report.
Okay.
No.
And you want us to send these forms out electronically to everybody?
If you could,
Yeah, not a
again, we
problem.
provided a copy tonight if you guys want to make notes on them. But yeah, if you could do that,
Exactly,
it
yeah.
might be an easier way for them to get them back to me by July 1,
No
too.
problem. Yeah, we'll get that out tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the progress this year. I do want to touch on all that. Obviously, it's what I'm being evaluated on. But I'm really excited about, and to Mr. Walsh's point earlier, about me now being able to be the superintendent and really move. I'm very comfortable with the skill set Dr. McIntyre has, and I have some exciting proposed goals that I'd like the committee to consider. I know this is not, this meeting is not intended as part of the process to be a goal-setting meeting, but I wanted to put preliminary goals out there, and then obviously as you do the evaluation and find areas for improvement, I'll incorporate those into the goals as well. But I wanted to lay some things out preliminarily, mostly because I want to start working on those now and sort of get a nod from the committee that we have I have your support. The documents that you have in front of you, the evaluation tool, again, none of this information will be foreign to you, or mostly to everybody. Joe, it may be just that you. I don't know if you were here for the mid-cycle report that I did. I did a mid-year progress report. Okay, so I'll walk through that for the benefit for your benefit as well. What I have here, if you recall from last summer, I left you like sort of stacks of evidence in my office, and this year I tried to give you more selected exemplars. At this point in the evaluation process, I'll go through the goals, since it is the final report, and then provide evidence of each of those goals. I've contained all that in an evidence binder. I made just one copy of that. I can provide it to you electronically. It's a pretty big file, and I didn't want to make one for everybody in the interest of paper. But if you wanted to just circulate this as I'm talking through the slides, you can get a sense. It's broken down here by each of the goals, and then the evidence is behind that. And what I have on the slideshows you may have seen from the packet is behind each of the goals is a listing, just a bulleted summary of what the evidence would be here contained, and that's in this binder. So I'll just circulate that through so you can get a read for it, and I'll leave it with the chairman. So as the subcommittee comes together and you want to thumb through that, it might be a good resource for the team.
Great.
Bob, did you say you could send that to us electronically?
I can try. Maybe I have to set up a zip
It's too
file.
big.
It's pretty big. I can try to do that in parts. Yep. So if you want,
If it may be easier for you to leave in your office like you did last year, then if people want to stop in and see, rather than leave it with me, that might be easier.
Okay, so I'll send this around tonight, but instead of leaving with you tonight, Rob, I'll take it back and we'll scan it, even if it's in part.
Are you gonna scan it?
Yeah, because there's a collection of, I will scan it and send it though. Send it as a PDF. You'll get it as a PDF.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not a problem. So I'll just start it here and just send it on. And it'll follow the flow of the slides. I think it's always important, like in any industry, to be reminded of our mission, what we do, why we do this work. So I keep that as a front of mind reminder for me all the time. And the second piece, which is included in your packets, and it's also in the distribution and the evidence, is the strategic plan. The strategic plan is, as you know, this year is a 2-year plan, coming off of a 3-year plan before that. And for me, it's really keeping my eye on the prize, making sure I never lose sight. With so many things happening, so many moving parts in a district of 4,200 students and daily challenges that come at us, to not lose sight of the big picture as to why Milford is such a great place to work and to learn. So that's important for me. We're in the process now. Kathy Perry is in a licensure program. Kathy is working with her advisor and with me, and as part of her practicum work that she's doing is Kathy will actually be developing the next strategic plan for the Milford schools. It'll be a 3-year plan. Of course, I'll be working with her on that, as will Dr. McIntyre and others on our team. But this plan is a 2-year plan. Next year will be year 2 of that 2-year plan. And it continues to be the guidepost. And you'll see that some of the evidence there relates to that. The goals obviously are connected and so forth. These are the strategic plan priorities. And again, I'll just read these bullet points. I hate to read from slides, but I'll do it for the benefit of this particular slide. I think it's important because this links together, as you saw from the school improvement plans. And that needs some work, by the way. As you saw from some of the school improvement plans, they're using a prior strategic plan language. There are some other improvement plans that were presented by the school principals that directly line, and I think, Mr. Holland, I think you brought that up one of the meetings, to make sure we're using that language so the teacher evaluation tool is linked to my evaluation tool, principal's evaluation, right down to the strategic plan, to the school improvement plan. So we're all speaking the same language about the same end. And that's really important, so we don't ever lose our way and get caught up in sort of these lofty goals that have no bearing on what we're trying to accomplish in our mission of the school department. Okay, but the,
I think I also said I'd like to see a fewer number of attainment goals, as opposed to a great number of goals that perhaps aren't necessarily attainable.
right, yeah, and that's important. And you'll see, like for next year, some of the proposed goals. There's only like 3 that I'm putting forward. Beyond what we're already doing is sort of maintenance. Like curriculum is not a goal; it's just an expectation.
That's right.
The goals for me are how are we going to take Milford and make it exceptional, and really move this district so that it becomes more premier than it is already. And that's what we're really excited about doing now. And I feel like I can jump off and do that. So these standards, the strategic plan serves to do these things, to ensure the district will prioritize and make choices about what to do and what not to do in our schools. And that's really important. The what not to do is the harder part. If we have a number of assessments and our teachers are spending all their time assessing kids and less time teaching kids, we have a problem. We've got to back off of those assessments. That'll be a challenge for Kevin. That'll be one of his first challenges, is to get a handle on the number of assessments we have in our schools, which ones we need that are state mandated, and which ones really help us to inform instruction day to day in our classrooms. And everything else needs to go away because it gets in the way. It's noise. And that's a major focus going into next year. And having somebody who's got the expertise that Kevin has will allow us to do that finally.
You have teachers in the room that be giving you a standing ovation
They-
about eliminating assessments.
They absolutely would. I would agree with that. Number 2, to help the district be intentional rather than reactive in our instructional practices. Number 3, to ensure accountability, commitment, and capability as the district works toward becoming a premier school district, as I mentioned already. Number 4, to ensure the district staff will have the training, time, resources, and ongoing support they need to carry out the daily roles and responsibilities, and to allow the district to marshal resources in order to fulfill the educational mission through effective working relationships and well-defined functions and tasks. And we spend a lot of time in the district making sure that our curriculum team leaders know what their charge is, what their reporting mechanism is. In any of your industries, you know all your reports, what their assignments are. In education, it's always, for some reason, been very ambiguous because teachers always do everything. But we've got to set these clear, defined roles. So if there's a curriculum question, they go to the teacher goes to the curriculum team leader. If the curriculum team leader needs the support, they now go to Kevin. They have a point person. Kevin needs support for budget or otherwise or policy. He comes to the school committee through me. And that's going to be that through pass. And we make sure everyone understands those roles and understands they fit in a hierarchy. They fit in an organizational system. It's been a lot of work I've been doing over the last 6 years. I'm really proud that we've gotten there. It's taken us a long time to get there, though. The first goal, the professional practice goal, so this does follow the standard form, was for me was the education evaluation system. And I won't read this to you verbatim. The committee's obviously familiar with this. It's the same, more or less the same model you're using for me, that I'm using for principals, and now principals are using for staff. This has been a very daunting task for us. It's taken a tremendous amount of time for us to explain. And I'm going to criticize the Department of Elementary Secondary Education. I normally don't like to shift blame to anybody, but it's very frustrating when a department, and if you ask any superintendent in any town in the Commonwealth will agree with me, when the state is rolling out initiatives and then later telling you how to figure it out after they've expected that you will turn things in by certain dates, yet with no support or very limited guidance, and you're sort of flying in the dark on this or building the airplane while you're in flight. And that's what it seems to be. We've tried to really take a proactive step with this. For example, Milford is not a race to the top district. Some years back, and I said this publicly to the staff, I advocated for Milford to be a race to the top district. There's an incentive there to be a race to the top district. There'd be some federal money. Boy, am I thankful we didn't go for that money. It would have been a huge mistake because we would have had all these demands that would have been in front of us now instead of a year from now, and it's given us a lot of time to work with our staff collaboratively, and that's been a huge success story for Milford, is working in collaboration. So I'm very grateful that we didn't go forward with Race to the Top funds. However, I did make it a point this year in my curriculum capacity to attend Race to the Top meetings. At these various meetings that they held for districts that were Race to the Top districts to provide them this information, I went to those meetings. They never checked your Race to the Top card at the door. So I went in, even though we're not one of those districts, to make sure I had a head start on what would be coming a year from now. So we are well positioned to be well within the parameters of what the law expects our staff to do. And even more importantly, in my opinion of that, our staff have buy-in. They've sat at the table with me, with the administrative team, and worked through these kinks. We have districts, by the way, in the Commonwealth that literally can't get past negotiations on what constitutes a walk-through observation and whether a principal has to put it on a notepad, a Post-it note, or on an iPad. They're literally caught up in arbitration over Post-it notes. And I'm not even kidding on that. We've gotten to a point where our staff are welcoming the opportunity for administrators to come in and do walkthroughs. And it's because we sat at the table together. I'm really proud of the work we've done on this. We have a lot more work to do on this system. I have a lot of work to do with Kevin to get him up to speed on where Milford is with this effort, but it's ongoing, and as the evidence will show in the binder that will go around, and you'll have a chance to review the presentations that I've done for staff. All that is in there. I've also included in this evidence is a survey, the year-end survey of staff, asking the staff, do they feel successful, and what areas they need more training in, and that feedback will drive a professional development for next year as well. I've kind of spoken to what's included, but this is just a summary of what's included in that, and I'll just let you read it on your own. It's in your packets anyway, nothing new there. Then I'll just take it this way and ask if there's any questions on that particular goal or things you need me to clarify.
Just one quick question. Just actually looking at the final bullet point, is the MTA evaluation of rollout effectiveness. Has that been completed?
It's in the evidence.
Okay, that's what.
Yeah, it's in there, including all the comments, good, bad, and ugly.
All right.
The survey, that's another.
The survey it's in that first section. It's I think that's, I can't tell from here, but I think that's it, all the gray comments.
Yep, I got it.
Yeah, so take time and
Yeah.
read through that, and you'll see the stuff.
And we heard from a good many of the principals
Oh, yes.
as well.
Oh,
And the teachers.
Yeah, and I understand the frustration that staff has with that too.
In your opinion, Bob, and I know that you're presenting us with evidence and an opportunity to read it yet. In your opinion, how consistent were your principals at rolling out the training process for the new evaluation tool among their staff members? So do you have complete confidence that the Woodland School rolled it out in a very similar manner to the Brookside School?
The expectation that staff members would submit the same things and submit them at the same time, the deadlines we've agreed upon, is consistent across the district. The way walkthroughs were conducted, perhaps, or the amount of content in a narrative evaluation does vary from school to school. There are some administrators that are, I use Kathy Kay as an example, who's not with us any longer, but when Kathy was here, her narratives would be, 5 and 6 pages on each. It was almost too much of a narrative. It was great feedback, but and then you have Nancy Angelini overseeing 2 schools, for example, doing 116 of these evaluations. Yet they were all done on time, and they were done well with great integrity. So the short answer to your question is yes, I have every confidence that they are done consistently. How principals will remind other staff members, remind their staff members about what's due, when it's due. Some may be more aggressive than that than others. Some may be more laid back, and we did try to make this a year of exploration, saying do your best. We'll be loose on the timelines. The difficulty with that though can be. I can say to Joe, as a staff member, Joe, take your time on your goals, come back, we'll work through the SMART goals. Don't worry about the deadline, give you a couple of weeks. The downside of that is if Joe is a high-performing staff member, and I have every confidence in him, it's going to work fine. If Joe is pushing back on me now, and now he's saying, well, I wanted that back, you were supposed to give this to me a week ago. It's got to work both ways, so both parties, the management and the employee, have to both agree to that loosened timeline. That became an issue for us at the very beginning. And the reason why it was an issue was because the state was rolling out the explanation, the guidance, like days before these deadlines. So the frustration, as you can imagine, is here I am pushing this out, and for a while it was me communicating with staff directly, because I didn't want anything to get lost in translation, nor did I want principals to take the brunt of it, because it would almost seem from a staff member, why didn't you tell us this a while ago? Why are you telling us and it's due in 3 days? And that was literally how it was happening. So I was taking that on, and then I asked all the principals to hold office hours. I held office hours for staff as well, and provided training, whatever they needed. So it is rolled out consistently. The problem is the deadlines the DESE has set were not reasonable to the time that they provided guidance on those deadlines. But it will be improved next year, better than it was this year, because we've had a year with it. Okay, any additional questions on the evaluation tool? So that will continue to be a work in progress. It's not going to be, it's not a goal that I'm going to propose for myself moving forward. It may be one that you propose for me, which would be fine, but just know this is ongoing work. For me, it's housekeeping now. It's an expectation under the law. It can be a goal or not a goal. It's still expected that I'm going to do this under the state guidelines. The next is the student learning goal. This is the Milford Schools Curriculum Committee. And again, the committee's well informed on this. We've had presentations in the past. from some curriculum team leaders. Tremendous feedback. You'll see I've given exemplars of meeting minutes in there, all the meeting agendas, so you can see the ground we covered this year. And I appreciate the remarks from Patrick and Mike and Scott, others, about the curriculum committee. And Dawn, you can rest assured that collaborative work will continue. That was loud and clear and something I really value, something I know Kevin values just from his interview and from talking to his colleagues and people in Tewksbury. So this curriculum committee is well positioned to now deliver. They've always been ready to deliver, actually. They just haven't been harnessed together to do it. And they are now. And with Kevin having this time and then he having some lieutenant level people to deliver on this, I'm really excited at what Kevin will come back. And I'll encourage Kevin to come back perhaps even every other, I think for the first year, even if it's not every other meeting or every few meetings, to come in and just give us even a snapshot update of what's happening with curriculum would be important. We want to know that it's money well spent. We want to know that it's time well spent with our curriculum team leaders. I know you're going to be pleased with that work. Examples of evidence there, as I just mentioned, the agendas, the team leader summaries that are there. There's a lot more than I provided in the evidence. I really don't want to try to inundate you with 1,000 pages. But if you feel like there's anything that, Bob, I'd like to have more clarity on what really happened on February 5th, just let me know that. I'd be happy to provide you with either detailed minutes of that or any way. After each of these meetings, the curriculum team leaders provided me with their summaries by their department. So I have all of those as well, but you can imagine the paper would run pretty deep on that. As you see the bullet here, the fiscal 14 budget submission, which included now Kevin's position, which is there. And again, I can't thank the committee enough for your support of that position. And then that's where we went from there, the screening process. And I'd say that goal has been met, and the evidence toward that's all included. If there's any questions on the student learning goals for curriculum committee? Okay, great. The next area goal is the district improvement goal, data analysis, and Joe, I know you weren't here from some earlier meetings about this. We had worked with Pat Meehan from the DESE, and she was a consultant to us to helping us interpret data. You'll see in the evidence collection that there's some PowerPoints work that she's done, and as I reported to the committee in the past, it was Pat, as great as she is with data analysis, didn't have that strong suit of communicating with the staff to really translate. Patrick, I'm trying to mince my words, but I use my words very carefully. So Pat is great with data, not so great in revealing that data in a meaningful way to staff, is how I'll leave that one. So I've taken a lot of that work myself, trained a lot of the CTLs in doing this data analysis work, and certainly part of the work with Kevin, when Kevin was interviewing with me, is he can attest, Kevin, I need to make sure that you have solid data analysis and that you can communicate it well to teachers so that they know how to use that data analysis and then inform change in their classrooms. And he's assured me and has demonstrated already that he can do that. So the data analysis work, though, over the year, we did do that. Nevertheless, you'll recall, this was back when Paul was still in the committee, that we for a while it was weekly, and we tailored that back to monthly, and that actually became enough, and we've moved off of that one. But again, in the exemplars are some work that you'll see, and I believe I showed the committee the progress report, the entire slideshow that I gave to staff, the graphs, the charts about the growth.
Right.
Okay, so that's all contained in there, and show in terms of how I actually ended up taking the evidence and translating that to the staff. It's another example of why I need to have somebody in place who can do that, so I can move on to other things, because this is preventing us from really taking the next step as a district. We're kind of caught up in work that will be better served with Kevin delivering. Any questions on the data piece, data analysis piece, and certainly as we go forward, Kevin will brief you on work with the park, where we are with changing from MCAS to this new assessment, how ready we are as a district to deal with this new assessment. It's all computer based. It's not a hand scored test. But I'll say it again: the state has not yet figured that out. So they're going to roll out an assessment without clear details on how to do it. It's another example of building the airplane in flight. I'm concerned about that, but we'll stay close to it. I might have mentioned before Eamon Cunningham, who's just a terrifically bright guy at the staff here at Milford High School. Eamon is one of the few that's on the park committee. So he was in Washington D.C. I believe I included his report in this evidence. He's got a great handle on this, and he was helping to actually generate questions for this test. So he's one of the only. I think he's the only guy in the state of Massachusetts that served on that committee, and we have him right here at Milford High School. So he's fantastic, and I'll get him at a future meeting. I'm going to line him up with Kevin to make sure that Kevin's fully versed on park, and we'll have a competitive advantage over other districts on that because we have Eamon in our district. Are there any questions on the data evidence piece, or if I've missed anything? Okay. District Improvement Goal, Standards-Based Report Card. Thank God I had Maggie Chinese helping me on this project. Maggie Chinese was referred to me by John Fernandez last summer as somebody who was, she'd taught on the Vineyard, retired educator, but with great expertise in putting together standards-based report cards. So I reached out to her and said, Maggie, I could really use your help on this. Thought I would need maybe a few weeks to have her put it together. She's worked 10 months with me on this project to roll it out effectively. There were so many nuances to rolling out a new report card. Some of you have children in the district and you've seen it. If you've seen the prior versions, this really gives us, it's a much better alignment with what the state is asking us to do. And it really gives more information, maybe too much information to parents, but you'll know exactly how your child's doing in every aspect of their math learning. This is now available, as you'll see in the evidence, in multiple languages. It was tricky providing it in Arabic. Continues to be a challenge for us, actually. Arabic is a very tricky language to replicate, and it's a very expensive language to translate, about 25 cents a word in Arabic, so we want to be very careful with that. We've tried to use model report cards that other districts had used, so we weren't reinventing the wheel, and we did that. It was a report card committee that came together. Their names are all included in the evidence, who the committee was, when they worked, a timeline of the rollout, and then I recall, I think, Scott, you had asked me to put some more specific benchmarks earlier in the year, and I had done that at the mid-cycle, and I included all of those. And as you'll see in the evidence there, this goal is completed because kids in a couple of days are going to have it in their hands, and they've already had it the first couple of terms, and so it's out there. We continue to make some minor adjustments here and there, but for all intents and purposes, this work is completed. I'm very proud of this work. It was a huge undertaking, and again, I have to say to Maggie Chinese, a sincere thank you for her hard work in leading this group. We did a whole parent night. We had parents come in so we could explain this to families that came out so they'd understand if they had questions. We had translators available in case there were parents there who didn't speak English to make sure they were clear on what the report card was trying to do if they had questions. And it's just another great thing for Milford. Long overdue, by the way, having a standards-based report card. We've been using, up until this, we've been using literally the carbon copy, Joe. I know you might have seen those over the years, but the 3 carbon copy where you literally fill it out, tear it off, it was time. Are there any questions on the report card? It's always nice to come in with goals that you actually completed at the end as opposed to saying, yikes. The communication with the Milford School Committee, as I found, these are the what are called other goals that we've established. This one it varied by members. So some members, and I really try to do my best to communicate with the committee, particularly in real time. There's so many things that happen at any school at any given time. If there are things that will catch the media's attention, I like to make sure the committee has some advance notice on that, particularly if you're called to have comments, and I hope you found that information to be helpful. I hope you weren't ever, although it's very likely that you were, and at times caught by surprise with things that happened in the school. And if that was the case, I do apologize. I try my best to get information out immediately, particularly if it's a concern where you may have to make comment. There are a number of things that happen on a day-to-day basis of, sadly, of kids being sent to the hospital by ambulance or police, or families being involved or children being arrested. These kinds of things sadly do happen in our school district, and you may not see that in your day-to-day operations, and I don't report that to you. If there's things that are high level in school involvement, as you saw like Newtown and things over this year that we've had to experience together, I hope you found that I've been a good communicator with that. Now, Dawn would probably want me to call him more frequently. I know that. I'll work on that, Dawn, for next year. I'll save you the evaluation, but please mark it down. We do talk quite a bit, though, in fairness. We do. And I try to be very responsive when the members of the committee do call. If you feel like, as you consider this in my evaluation, that you want to have something of a newsletter, or the problem with that, though, I'll just put this out there, I've thought about this, is that by the time you get the newsletter, the information's 5 days old, and it does you no good to know it on a Friday when it happened on a Monday. So my feeling would be continue on briefing you as events happen in real time, whether it's by email or text. And I've communicated with just about everybody here in those fashions.
We're probably
So.
safe avoiding any newsletter.
Yeah, so but I don't want to close the door on this. So I'm happy to take any feedback that committee members might have on how I can improve communication, because I want to make sure that you are feeling as though you're informed and that there are no surprises. So, is there any thoughts? Or?
I think, Bob, that perhaps in the future, and this isn't a criticism, it's simply a suggestion, now that I think that you've taken the opportunity to sort of restructure your admin staff in the office. Might be a task. A newsletter is too much, but if a daily list of 3 or 4 bullet points that you think are necessary on email is something that's perfectly reasonable, wouldn't take up too much time. I don't know if it's necessary. I personally have a lot of contact with you, so I feel our communication is very good. But any other member, I don't know if bullet points in an email is more digestible, or?
I would say, just my own 2 cents on that. I don't think I necessarily, for myself, we do have a lot of contact as well, and certainly been very responsive throughout the year, both on major as well as minor events. Everything from, everything with Newtown to, hey Bob, what time are we meeting for graduation on Sunday? It wouldn't need necessarily daily bullet points. I think there may be some value as we go through this process because it is lengthy. Maybe it is whether it's a newsletter, I wouldn't say that's necessarily, I think that may be overkill, but maybe a couple of bullet points or an email of some sort of, hey, here's kind of what we're working on, and here are some things that here are some milestones that we've met over the last weeks, months, whatever that time period that you may feel is that the committee may be feeling that is necessary.
Okay.
There may be some value to
it's
that.
a fair point. I'm always, it's that delicate balance. Everybody here has a day job, and I don't want to be calling you and pulling you away if you're working with customers, so email tends to be a better communication for me. I can send it late at night, and you can read it when it's convenient for you if it's not a pressing matter. But certainly we can do that. And it gives me a chance to brag a little bit and really tell you what great things are happening. It's not always these bad stories. It's not always these crisis updates, and I feel like I communicate that to you because that's the kind of thing that media, is going to call you on. They're not going to necessarily call you on, hey, the curriculum team leaders came together today and uncovered that we don't need a textbook. It's not going to make the headline, but it ought to make an email to you to let you know that this is an exciting, and I think it's a comment well served. Yeah.
No, Bob, I haven't had any issues with communication at all. I think as a new member, one of the challenges I face is just access to information. And obviously, you have a lot of information here. I can pop in any time and grab whatever I want. And this is probably more of an issue with technology than communication. But I'd love to be able to see like a shared drive or something set up in the cloud where we keep all the historical information. So as a new member, I can go in, I can pull down old files, or I can look at strategic plans that you've already reviewed throughout the year, and without having to take a walk, without having to drive down here, without having to bother any of you.
We do have some of that on my page on the website. I have the strategic plan and some of those things posted there, but it's not really, it's only the current documents, so I could create an archive as part of that shared drive. So you could go on
That'd be
there.
helpful.
Yeah.
Or what about meeting minutes? Is there somewhere on that a drive or a server or folder where you can get all the meeting minutes online?
I don't know that we've been posting those, we have.
I'm wondering if that would be helpful. I know exactly, there's a lot when you're
Yeah.
coming on board, or just historically,
And
everyone's
that
at
with
different
Melissa on
points in
board,
it.
and I haven't introduced, I think you've all either talked to Melissa or certainly have correspondence. Melissa Bullock is replacing Terry.
Yeah.
This is Terry's next is her last week, and thank you to the committee for your recognizing her as well. I know she very much appreciated that. And that's something that certainly Melissa can do as well. She can help me with briefing and posting minutes and getting all that uploaded to the
Once
website.
it's voted on.
Yeah, these are great suggestions. Okay, and the other goal here, the Woodland School project, as you know, this is ongoing. It's as much a goal, but it's really housekeeping at this point. Something that I'm obviously part of every day. And then this is just an example of the evidence, which is also contained in the binder that's someplace. I think Joe has it, or somebody has it at the moment. And then this is the part I'm really excited about. I wanted to tell you about 3 areas and tell the school community, and I'm asking for the school committee's support on this, these 3 goals. With your support this evening, I can begin to get working on these, so I'm not waiting until September and then losing 2 months. The first of which is a hospitality management program. I've had this one in the can for a while, ready to roll out. I'm really passionate about this one. This, I believe, will take Milford to a next level that I talk about, and here's why. Blackstone Valley Tech, if you hear it on the radio, we know it's a great vocational technical high school. We know a lot of kids are excited to go there, and we know why. They're excited to go there because it's hands-on. They have a week on curriculum, and they have a week in the shop. We also know that most of the kids who want to get in there, unfortunately, can't get in there with the wait list of 700 or 800 kids that they have for this district. It's interesting, by the way, compare that against Keefe Tech in Framingham. They actually have 400 empty seats.
Yeah, I know, it's weird.
Yeah. So kudos to Dr. Mike Fitzpatrick and his team there for building such a great vocational technical high school.
Yeah.
But if you are a student who wants to go into a trade, maybe you can't afford a college, maybe it's not an interest of yours right now, you may well not be able to access that trade skill. And then you're left with going into a workforce with arguably not enough preparation. What this program serves to do, and why I'm really excited about it is the single largest industry in the world. Under hospitality management, so culinary arts falls under that, as does hotel management, food and beverage, banquet management. A number of things fall under hospitality as the big umbrella. This proposal does not have any interest in culinary arts. Dr. Fitzpatrick and BBT they have a tremendous program there, and I've already I made the point first to speak with him, tell him about this idea. He and I get along very well as colleagues, and he has no intention at BBT of rolling out in the future, short or long term, a hospitality management program at BBT. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't competing with that program. When I say competing, I'm talking about competing for money, because this would fall under Chapter 74, which is a vocational program, which we have some here. We have minimal dollars that come, about $30,000, I think we assessed, about $30,000 that comes to Milford already for vocational programming, in and around video production, early childhood, these kinds of programs that we have with Mass Bay, and I'll get to that in just a moment. This would allow for an increase, which means that we get our per pupil expenditure for these kids on top of an additional $5,000 per head, I believe it is, in vocational money. So there's a tremendous state revenue source coming here. But that's not why I'm doing it. Why I'm doing it is for the opportunity for our kids. Because in the hospitality management, there's a number of different industries that they can learn in, and then you have a co-op in and ultimately be hired in, right in Milford. I've always viewed, since coming into this role, as Milford is a great resource because it's almost like a vocational school community. BBT has all these kids in their school, and they have to work with these shops in their 13 surrounding towns. Milford has every industry, whether it's automotive, HVAC, biotech, it's right here in this town. And the schools are a hub to that. If we can connect our kids to those industries, that's why I spend time talking with the Milford Area Chamber of Commerce and being on that board. It creates these partnerships. I've gotten the Milford Area Chamber of Commerce recently in their strategic plan to create the link back to the schools. It's a huge growth for us. This will help us to now roll this out. So the next step for us was to find, if our students are here, we need a program at Milford High School that starts freshman year that allows them to have exposure to what is hospitality management. What is, what is this whole program? From there, in the junior and senior year, we want to afford our students the opportunity to actually go out and work in the industry. It would be internships. We have buses. We can get them there. The hotel industry, for example, has a shuttle. We can come here. We can work out the transportation issue. We can actually work out a schedule within the high school schedule to make this happen. So the proposed plan is that we get a curriculum in place. We roll this out in January of 2014 under the program of studies. We actually have students start to enroll in that program. I've already paved the way with Carrie Bonnock in terms of scheduling to be thinking about this. Did a site visit to Worcester Technical High School. Worcester Tech has arguably one of the best hospitality management programs in the state. There are no public high schools that we are aware of in the state of Massachusetts that offer this program. Milford would be the first, and I love to set the trend on positive things like this. There are a number of technical high schools that do offer this, and we're going to model their curriculum. Turns out the gentleman from Worcester Tech has roots here in Milford, and he's excited to help us with that. Gave us a tour of the facility, myself. I brought on board Katie Maloney. Funny story about Katie. Katie, turns out, is Nancy Angelini's sister-in-law. Nancy and I were talking about this one day. She was excited at the opportunity. Get an email from her saying, hey, by the way, my sister-in-law happens to have a degree from Johnson & Wales in hospitality management. So really, met up with Katie. Katie is at home working, she's at home, stay-at-home mom with her children, and is excited to get back into the workforce. So Katie's been voluntarily working with me to get this off the ground. So she and I, along with Carrie Bonnock, attended Worcester Tech. We have a meeting coming up. There's a few pieces I want to connect here. We have the curriculum from Worcester Tech, the model. We have the support from the Blackstone Valleys from Dr. Fitzpatrick. We know we're not stepping on any toes. We need a place to have these kids actually work in the industry. I already have the support from the Milford Doubletree by Hilton. They have over 251 hotels that they manage across the country, and then all of their subsidiaries that are linked there. It's a tremendous growth opportunity for our students to have work experience and possibly have a job in that industry anywhere in the country or perhaps around the world. The final piece to this element, which is why I'm excited to have some time freed up to do this, is Mass Bay Community College. You may or may not know that I sit on both boards, Mass Bay and Quinsignment Community College, and I push the two against each other to come up with opportunities for Milford kids. Whether that's taking classes that give them college credit toward an associate's degree, for no charge. Those programs do happen, they exist in our schools, and our kids are getting those. We can do that more comprehensively. I want to see Mass Bay have a more of a presence, as I believe honestly that Mass Bay is really has their act together better than Quinn Sigmund at this point. Mass Bay has just rolled out a hospitality management program at the associate's level, which is terrific. It's affordable for our kids, and I have a working relationship with them already. Turns out they have a couple of interns. I was surprised to find out from Steve Gordon at the DoubleTree that those interns are working there. So I can now connect the pieces to Mass Bay, to DoubleTree, to Milford with the Chapter 74 money and make this marriage work. So our kids can now perhaps be getting college credit toward an associate's degree while they're in high school, while working, and then proving themselves, maybe having weekend jobs working banquets. And if they choose to go into that industry, they can feel that out, and they'll circulate them through every aspect. Whether it's housekeeping, front desk, you name it, a hotel, food and beverages, our kids will have an opportunity to experience that. And then they can go on and pursue that through Mass Bay. I couldn't be more excited about bringing this to Milford because this is a one-of-a-kind opportunity, and I'm going to chart the way on this. So I'm looking for the school committee to support me on this goal for next year. It's a huge undertaking, and I've already laid a lot of the groundwork. So far, I have a curriculum here. It's actually the hospitality and tourism management program. Tourism, by the way, is also one of the fields in here. And there's a design curriculum. It's a 2013 edition. It's cutting-edge stuff, and it's really motivating to kids. So I would propose that we start with a small number, somewhere between 8 and 12 students in this program, to get it off the ground, making sure it's successful. We'll handpick those kids that we know will have a proven track record, and then we'll build the program from there. So all that said, that's the long-winded version of this first goal, but I really am excited about moving forward with it, and I'd like to ask, at least preliminarily, the committee's support and to field any questions or suggestions you might have.
Go ahead, Tim.
I'm a big fan of always being, certainly being groundbreaking. Groundbreaking comes with some risks, and it sounds like you've certainly done a lot of due diligence already in advance of this, which is great. I just want to be clear on what your question is and what you're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Are you asking to move for the support of the committee to move forward with going with this program, or are you asking for support of the committee to continue to explore these opportunities as well as the potential interest and or impact, both from a student interest level as well as potentially from a financial impact?
It's really all of those things. So I think at this point, I'm asking for the committee's nod to go forward to continue to fact find and research this and come back with a concrete proposal as to how all these pieces fit together, what the cost is going to be, if any, and all of that. Before I spend the time doing that, I want to make sure this is something the committee has an appetite to support, instead of doing all that, coming back in September and say, yeah, we're really not into that. Because it's going to take a tremendous amount of time to invest in that. But I will come back with a proposal in the fall, probably September, I would say probably an October target date, so that we'd have all this rolled out for a January program of studies. So it has to be, that would be my end line. It has to be available in the program of studies for January. So everything has to be laid out before then. So any budget impacts have to be fully vetted. So there's still more work to be done on that, of course. It's just now it's an initial concept, but I wanted to make sure that I checked in with all the possible hurdles. And right now I've not run into any in terms of the practical side of it. I haven't looked at the budgetary side or, of course, the scheduling side of it.
Yeah, just one last follow-up question on that. So we go into the January course of studies for the students begin, ideally, assuming that this went forward, to begin actually being partaking in this class in the fall of 14?
That's correct. Fall of 14, right.
Fall of 14, okay.
Yeah, next year would be dedicated
exploratory.
to just
Got
exploratory and laying it out so it's done correctly and not rushing into it.
Perfect. I just wanted to clarify what the request was.
Yeah.
Don?
Bob, I remember last year you asked us about this, and so I think you had our support all year to investigate it. It looks like you did a great job, and you're laying down a good path. With the way this town has changed over the years, to have programs like this in the school, I think, are extremely valuable, not just to the students, but even to the community itself. So I think it's a fantastic thing. When you present this to us, when you have all the facts, things like, I know you're saying we have busing. Well, to me, busing costs something,
right? We have to lay all that out.
And all those little things
right.
that, when you're rolling out a new program, there's a lot of unknowns, right? So the more of a holistic picture that you can paint. The last thing I think anybody here would want is surprises. We certainly support you in putting additional programs in place to help the kids. And I think this one's fantastic, I really do. So honestly, I wish you luck in putting this thing together, because you know what, I can almost guarantee you that this is gonna be successful. One thing that you did point out though is, you know, handpicking like 8 kids. So, and if there's monies available, you know, are there limits? Like, do you have to have so many kids or something in the program to get those funds? All those little things, if you can present that to us. But I congratulate you. You know, I told you last year, I thought this was a fantastic idea. And, you know, really, I wish you the best of luck in putting this in place. That would be great.
Thanks. I just couldn't get it off the ground this year. There was just too much coming at me. But I'm afraid if we don't do this too soon enough,
I'm telling you, if this is successful, there's going to be other ones that follow. And I think it's long overdue, to be honest with you. So,
yeah, thank you for your
kudos
support.
to you for having the vision.
Thanks.
Mike?
Well, I commend you on this. I have an older brother in this line of work.
Oh, great.
And being in
Another
two
resource.
industries where we have a very difficult time finding help, you know, we talk a lot, and he always says to me, when people walk into the hotel room, they never think of all the people it takes to put them in that room. He said, you know, and there's so many facets of employment. He says, and now you throw in, you're staying in the hotel because you're going to have a wedding in the hotel. It keeps growing and growing and growing. He says, it's such a rewarding field, and we struggle every single day to get, you know, people to go to school. You know, like down at Johnson & Wales, I don't know about now, but my wife is a graduate at Johnson & Wales. My brother's a graduate at Johnson &
Oh, wow,
Wales
great.
on the culinary arts side. It was always culinary arts, and hospitality was like a secondary program. I believe it has now flipped the other way around, because this is such a great field. So great job. The comment on your Mass Bay, we actually do that in the automotive field. If we have students that are juniors in high school in the AES program that we believe, you know, want to be in the automotive field, we'll apply and work with Mass Bay, and they actually do their senior year of high school over at Mass Bay.
And that's in the Ashland branch, right?
Yeah, they used to have to drive to Wellesley for their academics, and then they did their technical in Ashland. Well, now they bought the old school over by the National Guard in Framingham and rehabbed it. So the kids from this area only have to drive to Framingham for their academics, and then they go to Ashland for their technical. But what we, as employers, the reason we do it is we're trying to get our hands on them faster, so they come out a year ahead of time. So they do their senior and freshman year of college together. Mass Bay handles it in conjunction with the high school, and they go into their second year, graduate, and then they come in.
It's a similar model I'm proposing here. So
Right.
we're actually
Right.
having our kids get a first year of college completed
Right.
at no cost to families.
Yeah, so a great idea.
And those are transferable credits even to four-year institutions as well.
Yep.
So can I ask how this chapter 74? So is it kind of like full day kindergarten where, you know, your first year it would be upfront cost for us for the additional education that we would be needed to set up this program, and then is it a per student basis, so it's how many kids are enrolled and then those funds come in the next year? I'm trying to see at a budget why this would impact
Yeah,
if
I
we're
don't know
getting the
what
extra money. How does
for.
it work?
I think it's formulaic in the same way that Chapter 70 is. It has to do with enrollment and programs offered, and
And you have to have the program approved. There's a lot of upfront work that you have to get done with the DESE liaison, and Albert was really instrumental in getting the initial funds over to us for Chapter 74. However, the $32,000 that we have written the grant for this year has kind of come to the end of the cycle for that program.
Okay.
So these, I believe, the full $32,000 could shift over now to hospitality. All those supplies for the current programs are where they need to be. So these funds, if we were to receive additional funds, would just be added to the $32,000.
So that's an annual additional cost that you get
Allocation.
to support the program depending on the number of students you
Correct.
have?
I really don't see this being a budget buster in any way.
No, I'm just curious, because, you know, with all things that you start, there's an initial cost, which is fine. I just need to know how we
Yeah.
can sustain it so that it's successful.
Absolutely.
I hate to invest in something, get people excited about it, and then be like, okay, where do,
And I'll lay out a full scope of a budget.
Yeah, I
projected,
think it's exciting.
Cost, revenue analysis, cost-benefit analysis, and I'll do all that. But before I begin that sort of trench work, I want to just make sure the committee, it sounds like the committee is on board with that, so
my other concern is how do you pick the students, or how do students become interested? I think that's it,
Yeah, I'm
because at
gonna-
a vocational school, it's obvious that when they go into the school that they're looking for a vocational program. Here, it's going to be interesting to see how that all works out.
we use they use the Naviance program at the high school,
Yep.
which is sort of a career inventory of what kids want to do.
Yep.
And I would actually lean to the gentleman from Worcester Technical High School, who actually advised us on keeping that program small, and he would guide us to do that work. Because you want that first year in particular to make sure you're finding the right successful kids to get out into that industry and to
Right.
build the program. Over the years, I can certainly see that growing to more than 8. I just, for year 1, to have a sort of a handful of kids that
Yeah.
will pilot the way.
Yeah, I think it's
And
exciting.
I'll get back to you as to what the criteria will be and which kids might be eligible for that. Steve Gordon couldn't have been better at working with us. I mean, he literally get these kids on a variety of different shifts and working every aspect of hospitality management. And he took us a tour of the full facility, the front of the house, the back of the house. We saw everything at the DoubleTree, Katie Maloney and I. And he's really excited to work with us. And again, there's a lot of banquets at the DoubleTree in Milford where these kids could even have a weekend job and make a decent income. They're always looking for good help there. And if there's help that they're training, and they're training them with the Hilton standard, those kids are poised to be very marketable, whether they choose to go to college or just to work in the industry while they're going to college, or just to do that until they're ready to go to college, or whatever it may be. I think it's just a great opportunity for kids. So I'll cost all that out, of course.
Yep, just curious.
Yeah.
I motion that we provisionally support the hospitality management program as a goal above the 2013-2014 school year, of course reserving the right to make any changes to said goals if we deem necessary.
Sure.
A motion, have a second?
Yep.
Christine?
One question I do have before we move forward with the vote, if
Mhm.
I may. I am certainly somebody that's fully in support of this. I think I think the idea is fantastic, and kudos to you and certainly the great team you are and the resources, and again, the creativity you guys continue to come up with is impressive. From a faculty perspective, is this a program, thinking about just because I don't have the intellectual knowledge on it yet, with this chapter
74.
Thank you, 74 money. Is this a grant that would require us and would require any level of teacher negotiations? Here's my concern. We had a great grant program with Math and Science Initiative.
Oh, I see, yeah.
They got voted out, and it was unilaterally voted out. And my concern would be to invest all this time and energy and have to go back through that again.
Yeah, this
This
isn't
is
operating.
different.
That's what I'm
in that
asking,
way,
is just
yeah.
to make sure that that doesn't,
Yeah.
that it's not in that same vein.
No,
That's correct.
Perfect. Then I'm certainly good.
no, definitely not.
So we have a motion from Patrick to provisionally accept this as a goal.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
We have a
Second.
second from Christine, all in favor? Unanimous in favor.
Great, thank you. And the distribution so it's not included in the evidence, but I had it as a separate single one-page
Mhm.
handout, kind of what I call an abstract. It shows you who the key team members are and what the purpose of this goal is. And thanks for your support on that. I'm really excited to get working. I'm in meeting with Mass Bay next week about lining that up, so thank you again. Just there's 2 other areas. This is an area, this is a little challenge, I think, for the school committee. So, and a challenge, I mean, is but in a positive way to connect you with education here. This is what I'm calling workforce training seminars for Milford High School seniors. This comes as a result of, and actually Mike and I talked this a number of times at the Chamber of Commerce, and talked about people who are business owners who are sadly disappointed when people come from, not so much Milford, but any high school kids coming out into the workforce who have no idea how to apply for a job, how to dress for a job interview, how to actually conduct an interview, not to complete their application in pencil. Any of these kinds of things that happen where everybody in this room certainly either has found their way to a job or is in the position where they are running their own industries or leading the way. And I think the school committee would be well served to help our kids to do that. I know there's finding ways to get with your own schedules and to get you engaged in the school. I thought this would be a great way to have you have direct contact with kids in a way that you can share your own, if you think of it almost a career day kind of idea, only you're actually working with real practical skill development these kids can use day one when they walk out the doors here. So just to go through this a little bit, I gave some illustrations how to complete a job application interview for a job, doing some mock interviews with them. I'm envisioning this to be basically senior workshops. I know you're all busy, but we do this once or twice a year. So what I'm asking here, and I'll just read this out loud for the benefit of the media and if people are watching it at home. In an effort to better prepare Milford High School seniors who are preparing to enter the workforce, I'm proposing that the Milford School Committee lead a seminar series for students based on career readiness skills. With a wide range of work experiences among school committee members, the goal would directly benefit our students and serve to connect the Milford School Committee directly to education in the Milford schools. This is something else I'm also very excited about. And if you get the theme here, I'm pushing the career readiness, where now I have a curriculum piece in place. I believe I've set that up well. Kevin's in place to lead the way on that one, and I'll certainly guide him on that. This now helps me with the other element, which I think we're at deficit in, and that deficit area is career readiness for the kids that don't go on to school. So with your support on this one, again, another preliminary goal that I'm laying out. Obviously, if you're not in support of it, then I'll take it off the table. There's other work to be done. If you think you can find the time to do that, and I don't think it'll be a lot of time to work with our kids, I think we could all benefit from your expertise.
Yeah, I love this program. I'm definitely willing to support this. I'm not sure if we want to limit it just to seniors. May be valuable to juniors as well.
Sure.
But these are real life skills that we need to be able to teach these kids. And I even want to add public speaking up there. If we don't offer a public speaking class in high school today, I think that should be a part of this
I
as well.
completely agree with you. Yeah. We just the other day, it ought to be a capstone requirement before you graduate Milford High School.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is in most every other country in the world, by the way. It hasn't, not the United States. It's in our curriculum, but it's not a requirement. Because how much work do you do that requires like this? It's public speaking. I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
And most people aren't comfortable with it, but if you give them the training, they'll ultimately be successful. So.
Yeah, I'll certainly add that.
I think this is great. I'm happy to volunteer my time to do this. I mean, the interviews that I've conducted with young people have just been astounded by their inability to answer a question directly or even fill out a resume properly. So I think this is great. I don't know if this is big enough as a goal for the superintendent for the district. I'm on board. I commit my time. I think this is wonderful. I don't know if we would necessarily call this a goal that we'd evaluate them on, but that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I hear that, and I don't know that we need to, limit it necessarily to the Milford School Committee. I mean, certainly.
Oh, sure, and we can add the Chamber of Commerce and absolutely.
Yeah, there's probably other resources that you can tap into, but yeah, you may very well be evaluating us on that instead of us evaluating you.
And again, I would lay out all the details, the whens, the hows, what kind of scripts to sort of use to develop your own curriculum, as it were.
Yeah.
And I get your point too. It's I don't know how time involved this would be to put together. It's just something I want to put out to do next year.
Yeah, and I think it's great. I mean, in your theme of giving students that are on a college track, I've been vocal in the past that we're very good about giving students on a college track opportunities to learn new things and try different disciplines and to really improve their resumes when they go off to college. And we've always struggled a little bit with preparing students for the workforce, and a significant portion of our students go into the workforce. I think this is a wonderful focus for us. I think we're staring squarely what we should be looking at as a school district, because we have an opportunity to service both populations. So I think it's terrific. I'm sorry for saying that.
No, I think it's just trying to think of how you make it a bigger goal, more of a career readiness goal versus just seminars. You got to be a program versus just this, maybe. I don't know. Go ahead.
If I may. And it may be that it's something that, as an initiative, it may be something that as you're going through your exploratory search with the idea of the hospitality management, maybe it's something that you put under a larger umbrella of career readiness, and not limit it just to those students that are going into the workforce. And I'm not meant to say that that's what you were looking to do.
No.
They're going directly into the workforce, but really open it up to everybody. And it could be something that you incorporate as part of the idea of the hospitality management of this is sort of generation one of, and a component of getting into this program, that we do that and maybe put it under that umbrella. I think that may make it large enough to become a goal. In and of itself, I couldn't support it more. I'm with Patrick and many other committee members as well as community members. The number of interviews I do with folks that show up in jeans or shorts and T-shirts, and just it's gives me a headache just thinking about it. But, so something like this gets me really excited, both as a parent as well as professionally, because makes my interview jobs go a little quicker. But if you could roll that in maybe with this other
Sure.
initiative, maybe make it large enough in scope.
And you know, that's a great point. In fact, it was my thought exactly, just as before you said it, is it may be a very good fit in with the previous goal that you mentioned. And again, you know, to echo what Joe said and Patrick, I would be more than happy to volunteer my time as too, but might be a good place to try it out within that program and, you know, expand it from there. I mean, I think that's a good idea, anyway.
Okay, with
Although
that,
I do think it's a reasonable goal. I think you get all these big pie-in-the-sky goals. I mean, we've gone through this process, and our goals have gotten better and better defined as we've gone through this, and with this evaluation tool, it's certainly helpful. But I think it's okay to have a goal that you can do this. Like, this is something you can do and get done. It's not going to be easy to even develop this. So I don't want it to get hidden in a hospitality program, because I think on its own, it's incredibly valuable for the district as a whole. Hospitality program services a population. This can service everybody.
I could expand this certainly, and even build this into one of the thoughts I had that I think we need to do more at Milford High School, and many of you attended the school. I did not. I don't think we do enough in our business program here. We really need to do some entrepreneurial classes. We're not doing that kind of work, and I want to expand that area of the curriculum. So this may be something I could tie into a larger curriculum expansion effort around business technology.
Well, to pick up on what Christina just said, you know, we now teach, you know, how to read an amortization table and how to calculate interest in a 2-week period in math class for, you know, for all of our students. I mean, I wonder if that's a piece, that there's some sort of a career readiness piece that might be, because I agree with Christine, this is very important. This is a terrific thing. This is, in a lot of school districts don't do this. But I think that there's sort of stepchildren programs that we've slotted into place. I wonder if we can gather them under one umbrella, and this can be the vanguard of that particular program. I'm not.
Sure, I can look at that, and I can certainly expand that. It's a more expansive
we're
goal.
getting,
Just a good place that I would recommend you start would be with the gentleman sitting directly behind you.
You bet. That's already on my.
I was going to say, I'm
radar.
watching his head start to shake up
Yeah,
and down,
yeah.
and I can see the wheels turning, which is great. Just continuing to work with that curriculum piece. I do, you know, again, I think that.
So I'll reframe this in another way.
Yeah.
I'm all for it, and I
Okay.
would certainly happily volunteer my time. So that would be great.
You know, it's funny, a couple of takeaways, and you talk about developing a plan. Mike and I had the opportunity the other day with United Way. We were asked to be adjudicators, if you will, with the town administrator as well, like Shark Tank, of some students who came looking for grant funding from United Way, about $1,000, to build a skateboard park in the Milford Youth Center, with the idea of, you know, this is something that's a need in town, so kids aren't skateboarding all over every public property in town. And so we were charged with the task of evaluating their proposal. And so we did that. And what the takeaway for me was, it could have been written so much better, it could have been articulated so much better if they had had the skill set. And they had guidance, but if they had been trained in school with how to write these kinds of proposals in the future, if these kids need to have that skill. They need to be, they were great thoughts, really entrepreneurial minded. And I don't feel like we're as though we're giving them the tools to really build that and carry that forward. So I'm really excited about carrying that forward to an entrepreneurial program. Maybe that's the larger umbrella, and expanding our business program here for
even
kids as well.
To Joe's point, and Bob and I talked about it afterwards, the point about public speaking. All their documentation was impeccable. It really, they had done some phenomenal research, but when what was there, 6 of them came to present,
Yeah, 6 of them.
only 3 of them really did the presentation. And when they were doing the presentation, I know they were nervous and I know they're young, but they're looking down instead of looking. I mean, we're right in front of them instead of looking at it. It's training. And I said to every one of them afterwards, I said, you know, don't ever lose that gift, because public speaking is a gift. You know, it gets people into government offices because they can, you know, they have a phenomenal ability to speak in public. But I would be against merging the 2 programs together, because I think they're 2 totally opposite. You know, you're trying to get 2 totally different things. You know, I think you're trying to bring a program in of you know, hospitality management, which is all by itself. This is more, to me, it's an area of a group of people that are experienced in this. You know, hiring individuals, I think that, we could have a great impact on something like this.
I was looking at it more as a career readiness rather than
Right.
trying to make this only for hospitality. It was putting it under the umbrella, putting
Yeah.
this and that under the umbrella of career readiness.
Yeah, this needs to be
Hospitality being a
incorporated into the other
component
as well.
of it, and this being a separate component of it,
Yeah.
not together.
Yeah.
I think it's obvious, Bob, that you have support.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I'm getting that
Forward
loud.
in this- I mean, whether it's the goal in this form or not.
Yeah, and I'll go back
Yeah.
and recraft
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
Before I ask for a stipend.
If we ask for a stipend. You got it, all right, move it on. And then the,
The only quote in the paper tomorrow.
No, they left.
and then the, I think they've all left, I think. They've all left. They've had enough. And then the final presentation, the final slide tonight is something also I think is long overdue. We do, as you've heard from principals, so much with our students before they get into school. The readiness, the principals visit 19 area preschools. They sing songs, read stories, so that the child makes a name, a connection to the principal. We do kindergarten playground nights and the kindergarten orientation. And then when you graduate with your diploma on Sunday in June, we'll see you later. And there's no connection back unless you have a senior night where we get a guest speaker to come back, or the connections that have happened. This year alone, Don has sent me 2 work opportunities in his industry that could have been potential job opportunities for Milford kids, and if I had a place to channel that. And that is just one example. This is something I've been sitting on for a while as well, is to develop a Milford Public Schools alumni office. And really, I know the boosters, the athletic boosters, they have had their own renaissance coming back to life and doing a homecoming. What a great opportunity to invite alumni to that and to really showcase. We have so many talented alumni. I was just talking to Paula Mulwho the other day, her sister Annie, who's a Milford High School graduate. And there are a lot of these success stories, but she actually does a lot of the work and won her 2nd Emmy for the Dr. Oz show. 2-time Emmy Award-winning graduate of Milford High School, 2 years in a row for a very well-known show. And she would be great to have on this alumni group. And there's so many kinds of success stories. Now, I'm not from Milford, but I'm awfully proud of the graduates from here. And I've had the opportunity to get to know a lot of them. So if I can create a place where they can network together, where the alumni from here can come together, and they could even be part of this day where we do the training and bring their own experiences. And kind of like we're so excited when we see them come back for senior night. We have an alumni who will come back and speak and share their stories. Imagine getting them here for the whole day to work with kids instead of just that one 20-minute speech to the kids. And so I want to put this out as well of something I actually had reached out to Rob and asked of Rob, because being the chairman, he doesn't have the opportunity to sit on a lot of these other kinds of committees, whether it's policy or evaluation, to ask Rob to work with me on this, and he had agreed an area, and I want to just put that out for the committee to take a look at.
Yeah, and I remember discussing this with you and bringing it up my first year on the committee, actually. So I think there's a lot of potential there to do networking with a lot of people from this community who've gone through this school that have done very well. And I think it's a great opportunity and would be happy to help in any way I could.
I think it's very interesting. And Rob, you made reference to it at your speech at the graduation, but afterwards we were all talking about it. You guys were born and brought up in Milford. I see it in my own home. I have a 29-year-old and a 24-year-old. I mean, I all started Medfield High School years ago and never looked back. My daughter still goes away 2 or 3 times a year with girls as she graduated from this place. They're like best friends. And this would be just I think for number one, it'd be easy because everybody's so close. I look at all you guys. You're all still friends and you communicate. I think it's just there's something about this community. I don't know what it is. It's unique. It really, truly is. And I think a program like this would be great. People talk how difficult it can be to get an alumni program going. In this town, I don't think it would be difficult at all.
I agree. I completely agree with that.
Another good example who's been a tremendous contributor and support to the Milford school systems is like Consigli Construction as an example. I'll use them as an example. Him and his brother and sisters went to this school and they are very successful. They have a very successful business here in their community. They give back a lot, and to get people in companies even interested in this kind of opportunity, I think, would really shine a spotlight on Milford.
Like even Anthony's comment during the award ceremony.
To your interviews, one of his questions that he always asks is, did you play high school athletics? Because he wanted to make sure that you're part of a team, right? So But on this piece, Bob, you know, the two things I sent you were internships that I heard about. Just to have a place for the local community to post jobs for our students would be a tremendous value, I think. And so I don't know if that's, maybe we could roll this into part of the technology piece too, about building like an alumni website.
Oh, yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And having a place where local companies can post jobs.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
you
what I
can
have.
a,
Connect the district resources in place, the website, boost organizations. We also are ready to roll out a Facebook page. We
Okay.
have, it's not allowing for, you know, you can't post on the wall and all that, it'll be a push
Right.
out.
Right.
But we have that social media lined up and ready to go out in the fall as well. So I've done some preliminary work on that.
All right, and then what are your thoughts about getting some of the kids involved in kind of working on that site? And
Yeah, I've already reached out to Thomas Holmes, who's a high school, he's a junior, and he actually helped to do this social media page for me, and he's looking for an internship this summer. So I would actually have him begin to develop this over the summer and create a database of we have the alumni book I think you provided me early on. I don't know if I can
Yep.
get that back to you. I think I still have it.
Yeah.
And we can get that electronically, so we can actually make a reach out to, you know, to all the alumni. And it'd be nice to have, even just to start it this year with an alumni, welcome them back. I have a sort of alumni day. We can welcome them back, have a barbecue, something like that for the staff. I just think it would be a nice feeling for the town. It would reconnect our graduates.
And if I may, I think, you know, I think it'd be a great opportunity for our students as well. So I think that you mentioned Ann DeGregorio, who I had the good fortune of graduating with Ann. We've known each other forever. We both grew up here in Milford. You know, you talk about a tremendous resource. I use her just as an example as you brought her up. She started doing plays in this town in the 5th grade. She was a French horn player. So she was part of the band. She was involved in Milford Theater. She was a singer. She was an all Eastern and Central District chorus. So all the students that we have, just using her as an example, now we got a 2-time Emmy winner. That our students have this great resource of being able to reach out to. I mean, I certainly, I think, as we talked about, I think you certainly have a lot of support. Obviously, a lot of alumni sitting around the table as well. So, great opportunity. Yes, it's for the alumni to stay connected with each other, but I think it's an opportunity too to allow our students to reach out and say, "Hey, hey, listen, I'm in the band. I'm in music. You know, I like the production end of things though as well. Maybe, hey, I'm a Milford grad. Maybe I could reach out to Annie, or maybe I could reach out to, you know, whomever, fill in the blank, the Consigua Construction. Yeah, those are a little easier because they're local. But you know, Anne lives in New York. That's gonna it's tougher to walk down the street.
Right. And I think you see that there's a connection. All three of these proposed goals, they're all uniquely separate. They all interact, and that makes it a lot. In my brain, it's a lot easier for me to sort out and connect them all. And then each one would strengthen the other. So that's although I think a little ambitious. That's what I like to start to look at for the next year, and then certainly whatever feedback you get from the evaluation process.
just
Patrick?
be warned. I mean, the kids are so far ahead of you in this area.
With the social media, I know, yeah. That's why I'll capitalize on their skills.
Yeah, right.
Patrick?
I motion that we also accept this alumni office development as procurement goal for Bob's
Yeah.
2013,
Second
2014
that.
school year.
Okay.
I'll second
Motion.
that.
Second from Scott. All in favor? Unanimous in favor.
Right, thank you, and that brings me to the end of my presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
Can I have a quick question? I don't know if I can suggest a goal.
Oh, sure, of course.
Technology, we have so many technology needs in the district, and we've had this big discussion this year. We have a district-wide, a town-wide technology. I would really like to see, now that we have a curriculum person in place, I would like to see a goal related to technology and education, how we're going to use it, what we need, something like that.
Sure.
For the district.
Yeah.
These are all phenomenal,
That's
but
a great idea.
that specific education and technology goal, I'd really like to see.
Yeah, well, I think we should make that one of his goals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
just,
mean,
it's a huge thing, but pick
I'll
part
be
of
doing it
and-
anyway, so might as well make it a goal.
Yeah, I just,
It's such a
You know,
huge
it's-
piece of everything our students.
No question
and we've
about it.
had such discussion about it, and the town is on it now, and I just think we don't want to lose an opportunity to grab what we can right now and develop something from the ground up. Well, everyone's paying attention, and it's just so important now. Just like public speaking, being able to deliver education through technology or whatever piece you choose, I just think
Yeah.
would be great.
And I think we knew that there were some pieces that we weren't treating as completely as we could this past year because we saw
Yeah.
all the curriculum. So
Yeah.
you know what? Curriculum squared away. We have Kevin, who's been suffering through, 3.5 hours of meetings so far, discussing Bob's goals. I mean, I think we have the right people in place that we can be a little bit more demanding about things like technology.
Yeah, I just think, I want an education curriculum specific goal.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Definitely.
Yeah. Joe?
Just a quick question, Ed. Again, I'm the new guy on the committee, so I apologize, but, you know, we've sat back and we've listened to all the principals provide us with their strategic plan, and we just sat and listened to Bob go over, some of his goals. Like, as a school committee, do we ever sit down and say, all right, here are the goals that we want to establish for the district, here's what we want to prioritize, so that we're held accountable to some standard as well?
Oh, the school committee account to
Yeah.
a standard? No, we've never done
It's at the
that
booths.
per se. What's that?
That's done
Yeah.
at the voting.
Yeah. But no, I know what you're understanding.
I walked in, right?
Yeah.
There was
No,
no
that's-
raise there, so.
Yeah, that's
you
fair.
make a good
I
point.
think, like, how we measure our success, like, how do we measure whether or not we're being effective? And I don't know if there's a tool out there to help us with that, or if there's a precedent.
Well, yeah, well, I like to think too that, you know, Bob's success and the district's success is and should be a reflection on us, because here we are discussing these topics, you know, twice a month, and, you know, giving the feedback and providing the direction, and the evaluation, again, will be another tool for us to, you know, keep Bob on task and just, you know, be watching on the evidence and things of that nature, so, I mean.
Checks and balances too.
I think we can largely express a lot of what our goals are as a district through Bob's personal goals. And I think that, so this goal setting that we've done, so Bob's given us 2 goals that are definitely concrete goals. We'll probably come out with probably 2 more that we suggest that we would use to guide where we want the district to go. But to your point, you know what? There's no reason why we couldn't make these public and then evaluate ourselves on how well we did over the course of the year. At the end of the year, I mean, that's a discussion that's perfectly reasonable to have.
Sure.
I don't know if there's any, if you have any access, we could reach out to the MASC, that's the Mass Association
Yeah.
of School Committees, to see if they could give us some guidance on something like that. I think it's interesting to take a peek at.
Great topic, yeah.
The MASC does have a conference a couple of times a year. I'm sure you get the mailings on that. What we haven't done, at least not in my experience in Milford, is members have not attended that. Perhaps in the fall, we could consider having the committee attend one of these conferences, and then you'd have an opportunity to network with other committee members in other towns and find out what they do, and get that as a resource.
Isn't there,
That's
there are
awesome.
big conferences over the summer, I think, isn't it?
There's
down
one in the
Hyannis?
summer, there's also one in November, I think,
There's one in
and
November as well.
that's a joint one with superintendents and school committee members. So we'd attend things together and hear things, you know, what's going on in the state. It'd be nice to, you know, as much as we don't necessarily want to compare ourselves to other towns and see what's happening, I think we have a lot of reasons to be really proud of what's happening here, and we may be the ones telling them how it should be done.
And that's a great idea, because that would provide us with some professional development, so, you know, we
That's
sit
right.
back and we talk about the importance of professional development for your teachers and your administrators, but yet, I don't know if we're necessarily doing what we can be doing to improve, from this side of the table,
I'll
so.
explore that on behalf of the committee and get back to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, thanks, Sean. It's a good point. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you for your attention and for your support tonight. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Bob.
So the only piece, Rob, that Bob didn't handle was the Woodland
Mhm.
School Building Committee.
Yep.
So if we want to give him a break, I'd be happy to update the committee on.
Yeah, would you
what's
please?
going on.
Yeah.
So, right now, if you all remember, we were appropriated $1 million by the town to do a feasibility study. We've pretty much, I don't want to say locked in, but we have a very good idea on how much the feasibility study is going to cost us. We're going to come in under budget, substantially under budget, so we will be returning significant funds back to the actual building fund, which is great. So we've committed to sort of spending as little as we possibly could, and we've been doing that so far. We are still ahead of target right now. If we stay on our current timeframe, and I'm not making a commitment on behalf of the school building committee, but if we stay on target right now, we're looking at the building, if it's approved by town, being completed somewhere around the summer of 2016. So that's the goal right now. So if we can stay on target with our timelines and we don't have any unanticipated surprises, and the town approves the project, that's when the project could potentially be completed. We have done some submissions and some studies about other building projects around the state, and we found that, believe it or not, the renovation of the existing building, along with an addition, is likely to be somewhere between 4% and 5% more expensive than constructing a new building. And that has to do with the housing of the students, the modulars, the busing, all of the other pieces of the budget that go into doing that. So we are still moving forward in submitting an idea of a renovated and expanded existing building to the state, but we do know right now that's probably going to be a more expensive option for us. We did look at our last meeting at several site plans. There are 4 potential sites that we're looking at. There's a Carroll Street site, the Dilla Street site, and the Asylum Street site. Those are all plots of land around the town that are large enough to support a building. There's pluses and minuses to most of them. I think that right now the direction that the committee is looking at is those other sites probably have some disadvantages that aren't really terrific for a school building, and that the existing site where Woodland is probably the best site to put that new or renovated building. We did look at some potential layouts of that site at the last meeting. So we would have to, there's several layouts that we're looking at. We would have to move that retention pond to put some of those designs together. But that was a retention pond that was put in when the building was built. So, and you know, right now, we still have surveys ongoing to determine what are wetlands and what are ponds and what are banks and what can be moved. But everything is moving forward, you know, pretty well. We have a public meeting on July 10th that we want to invite all members of the public to come to ask the building committee questions, so we can make a presentation to them. The architects are going to come in. I would encourage every member of the school committee to come if you can make it. I know it's hard, it's another meeting. We also would encourage, I would like to broadcast Bob through the school councils that we have on July 10th. I believe it's 7 p.m. in the Upper Town Hall.
Okay.
We're going to have that. So, you know, I know you probably don't want to use the alert now. I know we've had there's been some scratchiness about that. But I think if we're broadcasting it to the school councils, they're great, they're terrific, and they communicate. And it'll be people that have, you know, feedback, have children in the system and have feedback. So I think we get a lot of positive feedback from them. So we're moving right along, and it feels really good. And it's nice to sort of, you know, be under budget, and it's nice to be looking at site plans and sort of doing all the things that we need to do to put this piece together. So, you know, the most important information, somewhere in the beginning of October, we're still looking at what the potential building is going to look like, which is, I know everybody's excited about. And then, you know, if the town agrees and if we can get all of our approvals and we stay on schedule, somewhere around the summer of 2016 would be when that building would be completed. So it was a great meeting last week, and I look forward to the next meeting, which is the public meeting.
Great.
Just a quick question. Thank you, Patrick. One quick question, with regards to that public meeting. And I'm certain that it's such a huge committee and such a talented committee. Anything we can do to broadcast that, yes, certainly through our schools. I would certainly say if we can, and I know that there are members of the Finance Committee as well as the Board of Selectmen and town meeting, making sure that those folks as well as obviously the greater community, but those particular boards, as they will certainly be called upon to weigh in very heavily on this decision.
Most of the subcommittee is sort of comprised of members of different boards around town. So Dino's on the Board of Selectmen, I'm on the school committee. So each of us is going back to our respective boards to get the message out, so we can try and get as many people to come as we can.
Great.
Great, thank you for that. Every update's a good one, and you can't complain about that. So things are going great. It's good to hear.
Thanks, Patrick.
Okay. All right, thank you, Bob. Next item is the report of the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Human Resources. Kathy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 4 warrants for the committee's approval this evening. The first warrant is in the amount of $9,730.43.
I have a motion from Don, a second from Scott. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous in favor?
The second warrant is in the amount of $186,833.05.
I Have a motion from Patrick, a second from Mike. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous in favor?
The third warrant, that's correct. Third warrant is in the amount of $13,572.23.
Have a motion from Joe, second from Christine. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous in favor?
And the last warrant is in the amount of $278,667.27.
Have a motion from Christine, second from Scott. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous in favor? Motion passes.
The committee has a list of the latest appointments from our previous meeting. No vote is required. I do have course reimbursement for the committee's approval in the amount of $10,075.50.
Have a motion from Patrick, a second from Joe. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous in favor?
And we are coming to the close of our fiscal year. The final warrant will be in the middle of July, and we are on target to finish our budget in completion with all of the out-of-district tuitions resolved, and as well as the deficit in transportation, with one maintenance project being the locker room wing replacement that I reported last meeting, and that will bring us to a balanced budget.
Great,
Okay,
fantastic.
Great job,
thank
Kathy.
you.
We have a gift tonight, or some gifts as well. We have a gift from Brant Hornberger and Megan DeGasperis, Family Network gift for contract services, supplies, programs, and events in the amount of $150. Motion to accept from Joe, second from Don. All in favor? Unanimous in favor? That was very nice of them. That. Yeah, that's the only one in here, okay. Next order of business is subcommittee updates. Policy Subcommittee, have any updates?
We have not met yet. We are meeting very shortly. I actually have in my hands the Alert Now policy, which we will be reviewing at our next meeting, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that, you have that policy as well, Christine, right? Okay.
Okay, very good, thank you. Safety and Security Subcommittee?
Bob, have you met with the principals? I know in our last meeting, you said you were gonna go have face-to-face meetings at
Yeah.
that point with the principals.
Just
So-
on the red dots is where I left off, so I haven't had any meetings with the principals on that. It's on our summer agenda,
Okay.
when school's out of session, but I haven't had any further meetings with them.
Okay.
Okay, so no other updates there. Next up is new business. Do any committee members have new business? Seeing none, do any members have any old business?
Just one thing, Robbie.
Mhm.
So at the last meeting, we talked about potentially looking at, or having Rob Quinn look into what would be involved with switching over to low-flow fixtures in the schools. Just looking at the budget balance report real quick, it looks like we budgeted $40,000 for water last year. So if the water increase goes up 75%, we're looking at a $30,000 increase just for water. So anything we can do to help save some money there, I think would go a long way. And I'm sure once the water company rolls out the rate increase, they're gonna be looking for some goodwill. So maybe we reach out to them and see if they're willing to cover some of the costs associated with replacing the fixtures. It certainly help them from a conservation perspective, and then potentially, garner some goodwill.
Sure.
Yep,
Yeah,
we-
it's a good suggestion.
Kathy, can you connect with Rob on that? Thanks.
Any other members? No. There is no executive session this evening. We would not be returning back into regular session. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion from Mike, second from Christine. All in favor? Motion made? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.